2025, and this is a regular business meeting of the Billings City Council. If you would, please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, and we have an invocation by Councilmember Kennedy. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, if you'd all please bow your heads. We come to you today as this is Holy Week, our Easter week, as we are in the middle of the preparation for the Easter Sunday. We come this week to look out after all the people in the city of Billings as they come out to enjoy the Easter holiday and to enjoy each other. The one thing we ask and pray for during this Easter week, that we get along, we make friends, and we make sure that we follow your will. In your name, amen.
Amen. Tony, if you would, please call the roll.
Councilmember Shaw, Gulick, Neese,
Present.
Owen,
Here.
Rogers, Kennedy,
Here.
Aspenleiter,
Excused.
Tidswell,
I believe is online or getting online.
Boyette, Rupsis, Mayor Cole.
Here. First order of business are not our minutes. Those are pending from our March 24th meeting. First item, council courtesies this evening. Councilmember Boyette.
Thank you, Mayor. I recently attended my first meeting at the Beartooth RC&D, Beartooth Resource Conservation Development meeting, and I thought it would be wise to bring a couple of folks here to tell us a little bit about the group. So we have Joel and Nan. Please come forward.
Thank you, Mike. My name is Joel Bertolino, and I'm with Beartooth RC&D, and we are a regional economic development organization. We cover 5 counties here in South Central Montana, many of the ones surrounding Billings itself. And a lot of the work we do has to do with just having a passion for small businesses and community development projects. And a lot of the businesses that we do assist, both directly here in the city of Billings, as well as in these counties out surrounding it. The hub seems to be Billings, obviously. And so all the assistance that we're able to give those businesses, a lot of them are procuring most of their services and a lot of their raw products from Billings. A lot of them start in these smaller towns, and a lot of times they end up graduating and growing and end up getting a space in Billings itself. So there's a lot of symbiotic nature to the economic development region-wide when you take a regional look at it. And so that's kind of the work that we try to do. And we do have several different tools to do that. Some of those flow through the State Department of Commerce, the State Department of Agriculture, and the Federal Department of Commerce. And we're one of about 11 of these organizations statewide that provide regional economic development. So we kind of prepared a little bit of an impact statement for you to look at today. I'm going to let our finance director, Nan, have a few minutes to talk to you a little bit about the impact on that she worked on there, particularly with our revolving loan fund. So with that, I'll let Nan talk.
Hi, Council. As you can see in front of you is an impact statement that we had put together. This is a snapshot that is just of the revolving loan that is active revolving loan clients as of today. We do have one that I had just closed this week, and then we have another one that'll be active. So this changes daily. So this is just what is invested as of right now that is in the community at present date. Just to keep businesses a little confidential, I had labeled them A, B, or C. But on the back are the names of the businesses that we are helping today. So as you can see, jobs created or retained with those 7 businesses are 69 jobs created or retained, with an investment from Beartooth of 692,000, with local funds from banks or personal funding. We're sitting at 4.1 million is the impact that we have been able to make with our RLF. So that's just a little bit. Kind of made it colorful for you guys because it's fun to do that. But anyways, if you guys have any questions, that's just a little bit about what we do with Beartooth.
Very good. Thanks for joining us. I don't know if there are any questions from council. Councilor Manise, I guess.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for this information. One of the things I've always asked about is, and you kind of indicated here, but I just wanted to clarify, and maybe you can point out, unfortunately, the public doesn't have this, so how much, I mean, the impact, I want to see direct impact. So we understand the county, some of the businesses are in the county and stuff like that, but how much of this, when I look at this, are you saying 4.128 million is actually loaned to business Billings or Billings businesses?
Yeah, so if you look right here, whoops, on this side is just the impact that is in
Okay.
Billings. And then down below is the impact that is just in Yellowstone County. And then obviously we can magnify it if we went out to our regional economic development, but obviously the businesses that are in Laurel directly impacts Billings, right?
Right, okay, thank you. And then, and these are public dollars that are loaned out, is that
Yeah,
correct?
actually, an interesting thing about this is Bill was one of the main ones that started this funds a long time ago when he was a commissioner. He was one of the ones that signed off to do the CDBG grant. So actually, thank you. I just came across this documentation just actually a couple weeks ago. So those RLF dollars are still being revolved out and helping the community today.
Okay, and then one more question. You mentioned that for some reason you put just business A, B, C, D, G on one side, and then there's some businesses on the other
They're
side.
just scrambled. So these are the businesses, these are the actual amounts, but just to keep them kind of confidential, it's kind of scrambled, right?
Okay, so there's no reason, I guess then my next question, so these are the businesses, but boy, that
Yep,
gets a little out, sorry.
they are the businesses that are loaned out.
Okay.
Yep.
And because they're public dollars, there isn't any reason why they shouldn't be allowed to know what business has what amount, correct?
No, I guess not.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to clarify why they were masked on this one side versus the other, but okay.
I guess because I was doing more than just the public dollar side, actually showing the private amount that they have invested in,
I see.
or because of they, also have bank infusion into this, that it shouldn't show how much money
Got it.
Joe spent on buying a building or something like that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Councilmember Kenny?
Just a quick question. How much does Bethesda and then the city and then the county each give in each year?
Each give for the MOU.
Yes.
I don't have the specific numbers right in front of me, but I think it was around 13,000. I think the city gave in the last one, 13 and change.
How much does Bethesda and the county?
I would have to look at that. I'd hate to even say because it
Can
might
you
be
send those? And then I'd like to,
I can get you that number though.
that would be great. And then I'd like to know what the outlying counties all give.
Yeah, and I can get you that. And actually, that MOU that was presented last fall has all those figures on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for being with us tonight. We look forward to hearing from you later as well.
Thank you so much.
And thank you guys for all your support over the years, and welcome to your new building. This is a great space.
Yeah. Take the tour. Very good. Thank you very much. Any other council courtesies this evening? Seeing none, we do have 3 proclamations tonight. First, Child Abuse Prevention Month, then Keep America Beautiful, and then a mystery proclamation. So, first, our Child Abuse Prevention Month proclamation reads as follows. Whereas, although children are invaluable and key to our city's future success, prosperity, and quality of life, but they're also the most vulnerable members of our community. And whereas child abuse and neglect can be prevented by supporting and strengthening families, providing children with opportunities to develop healthy family bonds, and consequently building the foundations of communities. And whereas in order to be a helping community that provides services to families in need, we must also partner with other communities and organizations to ensure that all children's basic needs are met and their voices are heard. And whereas providing a safe and nurturing environment for children without violence, abuse, or neglect ensures that the most vulnerable members of our community will develop into the full potential and may become leaders of local, national, international communities for the benefit of future generations. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, William Cole, Mayor of the City of Billings, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Child Abuse Prevention Month and encourage all citizens to do everything they can in their own sphere of influence to help and prevent abuse and neglect of all children in our city, state, and nation. Thank you for those who are working in the trenches to prevent child abuse and neglect. Second proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the Great American Cleanup, sponsored by the national nonprofit organization Keep America Beautiful, is the country's largest community improvement program and involves more than 20,000 communities and 500,000 volunteers and participants each spring. And whereas Bright and Beautiful is a proud affiliate of Keep America Beautiful and encourages people to take action to improve and beautify Billings and Yellowstone County so our community can be a clean, green, and beautiful place to live. And whereas the city of Billings seeks to protect its natural resources and bring people together to transform public spaces into beautiful places. And whereas the city of Billings recognizes its commitment to engage citizens, civic and government officials, and business leaders to work together to reduce littering and beautify Billings and other nearby communities. And whereas Bright and Beautiful and the city of Billings are committed to elevating the importance of volunteerism and motivating everyone in our community to become stewards of the environment, particularly on Earth Day, Saturday, April 26, 2025, during Great American Cleanup Day. Now, therefore, I, William Cole, Mayor of the city of Billings, do hereby proclaim the month of April to be Keep America Beautiful and Great American Cleanup Month, and call upon our citizens to join in activities that promote responsible environmental stewardship and help us renew our commitment to building a better world today and for future generations. I see that we have some representatives of Bright and Beautiful with us. I don't know if you wanted to comment further on your proclamation. If so, please come forward. And I should have given that opportunity. If there was anybody who wanted to comment on Child Abuse Prevention Month, we'll do that after Bright and Beautiful. So go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Cole, for that proclamation. My name is Cindy Peters. I'm the new Executive Director for Bright and Beautiful. And we are super excited about the Great American Cleanup. It's coming on April 26th this year. And we're well underway with all of our planning and efforts, and we hope to meet or exceed last year's accomplishments, where we had over 1,300 volunteers who collected over 7 tons of litter. So we invite everyone to get involved, and if you have any questions or need more information, would love for you to reach out to me. My telephone number is 406-248-6617. We're also on Facebook. We have many of our larger cleanup opportunities listed on justserve.org. And of course, you can come join us on April 26th at the Billings Community Center. That's our headquarters for the day, and we'll be happy to help you find a place to volunteer, and we can provide you with the tools and litter bags as well. So again, Mayor, thank you. Council, thank you for your service. We thank you for your support in keeping Billings bright and beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you for your efforts and the efforts of all the volunteers. Was there anybody who wanted to comment on the child abuse proclamation? If you would like.
April is Child Abuse Prevention Month at the Family Tree Nurturing Center. We've kicked off the campaign at the beginning of April. We work with 400 or 500 families over the year. We'd love to have you come down on April 24th in the evening from 5:30 to 7 o'clock. We have our prevention, Child Abuse Prevention Awards that evening. We'll be honoring folks in our community. So come on down. We'll have refreshments and food, and we'll be doing the awards, 2520 Fifth Avenue South. I would just ask that people remember to wear blue on Mondays through the month of April on the prevention of child abuse. And on the last Sunday of the month, we just asked churches to put it out to their congregation about the prevention of child abuse. So this is a statewide, and we just want to thank everyone for the prevention of child abuse.
Very good. Thank you, Bill. Now for our mystery proclamation, which reads as follows. Whereas Community 7 Television, that's those cameras up there, Billings' only public education and government access television channel, has broadcast meetings of the Billings City Council, Yellowstone County Commission, School District 2 Board of Trustees, and other government bodies for more than 35 years. And whereas Tim Harrington, who's out there in Cyberland watching, controlling the board, the general manager of Community 7 Television, has demonstrated faithful dedication, commitment, and service to Community 7 Television for over 30 years. And whereas throughout his tenure, Tim has contributed significantly to the growth, development, advancement, and success of Community 7 Television, fostering a work environment built on teamwork. And whereas the City of Billings appreciates the contribution of Tim and his entire hardworking team over these 3 decades and is looking forward to many more years of collaboration with Community 7 Television. Now, therefore, I, William Cole, Mayor of the City of Billings, do hereby proclaim April 14, today, 2025, as Tim Harrington Day in Billings in recognition of Tim's 30th anniversary of service and an appreciation and celebration for his many achievements and accomplishments at Community 7 Television. So out there, Tim, we know you're out there. This is for you. Now don't go home tonight. You got more work to do. Okay, council reports. Any reports from council member Shaw?
Thank you, Mayor. The mayor asked me to just give a brief update from the legislative committee. I know it's also on our agenda as topic number 8 if we want to get into any meatier discussions, but we've been meeting every week, going through bills proposed by the legislature, giving direction to staff. It's actually why Councilmember Aspenleiter is not here tonight. The committee requested he go to Helena to testify on the city's behalf for a very important bill that would affect our assessments. And he graciously said he would. So he's probably driving right now. So we wish him luck, speaking on all of our behalf. And then we also chose this week to give some direction to staff related to the tax bills that I know we briefly talked about last Monday. So we can get into more of it in topic number 8 if anyone would like to, but wanted to give an update before the audience leaves eventually, if we go late.
Thank you, Councilor Shaw. And we did add the item 8 legislative update at the end of our agenda when we can get into any of those issues with more detail. So thank you. Other reports from any of the council members? Seeing none, City Administrator report. Chris.
Yes, Mayor and Council. So just 3 brief items. First, one has already been mentioned, just to highlight to folks, we did add an 8th item to the agenda this evening, as was stated. It will also be added to each of the regular agendas until the session is over. We had already added it to work sessions in the past, but now we'll have it on each regular meeting and work session. So for tonight, and we'll use this language in the future as well, that it just simply a legislative update and discussion, council to provide staff direction if necessary. Oftentimes it's just an update, but sometimes, as we all know, there are things that direction is helpful. So that's the first item. The second item is there is no ex parte communication that came in. And the third item is, I tried to get away with last week violating the dress code by wearing Western Michigan gear Thursday and Friday. And lo and behold, Saturday night, we won only our 2nd national championship. Last one in 65 as a cross-country runner. As a former cross-country runner, I'm pretty sure that got no no attention out there. But as a men's hockey, hopefully it'll bring a little bit more attention to the university, especially after beating a school like Boston University. So thank you for your tolerance and letting me wear sweatshirts and T-shirts last week. Thank you.
You deserve it, but it might be the last time in a long time. So
You never know.
enjoy it while you can. All right, well, congratulations. Very good, then we'll move on to public comment on non-public hearing items. So in our agenda, we have 2 items where we'll have a public hearing later. That's items 2 and number 3. Item 2 is the consolidated plan for CDBG spending. Please wait if you have comments on that until we get to that item. And then number 3 is the request for tax abatement from RVU University Vet School. That'll be a public hearing on that. That's item number 3. If you want to comment on that, please wait until we get to that item. Everything else on our agenda, we do not have a public hearing on later. So this is the time and only time for you to comment on items 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So if you'd like to comment, please come forward. We just ask that you tell us your name and address, keep your comments to 3 minutes. Please also try to keep your mouth very close to the microphone, and we may need to change the angle of that microphone so it's aiming right at people. Does it matter which they use? No, doesn't matter. So you should be good. Tyler.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Taylor Kasperick. I'm with Performance Engineering. I'm here tonight on behalf of Torgerson Equipment, who is on the agenda later for award of TIF funds from the Spura District. Obviously, like I said, here to talk on behalf of the project, but also just wanted to go through a few key points that I think would be good for the council to know. The first would be the timeline of the project. So we initially met with Dick Zier, who's the executive director of Spura, back in August of 2024. That's when we really started getting going on the project before we had started design or anything else on it. From there, from August 2024 until December of 2024, when we submitted the application, we were working through design, permitting, and getting bids from contractors for the project. When we submitted the application December 17th, 2024, none of the construction had been started at that point, and construction is, in particular on items that are being contemplated for award, did not start until January of 2025. I point all this out just to make the statement that we did follow the current process that's in place as far as submitting for application prior to construction, even though I know that's commonly a topic of discussion for the council. Following submitting the application in December, we attended the first Spura meeting in February. At that meeting, the Spura moved to award or recommended award of close to $300,000 to the project, with one of the chief reasons that it wasn't the full amount being requested, that the funds were not available at the time. In particular, funds weren't available, and the ice arena and rec center was coming down the pike. So I wanted to make sure funds were available for that. Following that meeting, it was determined that there was actually additional funds that would be available. And so we re-met with the Spura beginning part of April, where it was recommended award of the close to $843,000 that you're hearing tonight. All of the nuances aside, or all of the application specifics aside, the project that we're looking at is close to 18-acre site. If you haven't looked at the plans yet, it's bordered on 3 sides with trails that will be dedicated to the city. On the north side, Torgerson will be constructing. On the west side, the city has already constructed, and there's a plan on the south side to construct a trail there as well. In addition to that, Gray Eagle Ditch traversed the property to begin, and so that's being relocated as part of this project as well. The other items that are included in the application and recommendation for award include utilities, which for the public benefit of that, we will be pulling private hydrants into the project, which helps out especially in some of these more distant locations to prevent or help fight fires in the time that before the fire department gets there. So also here tonight is Brian Torgerson from Torgerson Equipment and Matt Robertson from NAI to speak. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Matt Robertson, 865 Paintbrush Place, NAI Business Properties. I was a real estate broker working with Brian Torges, and I started working with Brian. But first of all, I'd encourage you to vote in favor of item number 7. Wanted to give you a little backstory. As I'm sure you're all aware of, the projects adjacent to this site were kicked off by what Brian and the Torgerson family had done. So back in 2021, Brian and the Torgerson family went under contract on approximately 36 acres of dirt. It took about a year and a half working with Wyeth and, at the time, Jim Tevlin to annex that property on the other side of the interstate into the city, with hopes of engaging with TIF to perpetuate more activity in that location. And it did just that. We closed in 2022. We're able to secure TPA. So TPA is the big Billings Logistics Center. That was a $38 million investment into the Billings community that wouldn't have been there without the original purchase of the Torgesons. That then subsequently spurred Tim Compton, an adjacent neighbor, to build his new facility. And then just down the road, outside of the TIF, the Magnum Trucking facility. So we're seeing already exactly what the TIF is supposed to do, right? We bring these properties in, we allow for development, it perpetuates a significant amount, a lot faster than it would normally. So with that being said, I want to encourage you all to vote in favor of this. The Torgerson family has invested in Billings, and we look forward to the opportunity to grow with them. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Brian Torgerson with Torgerson's Equipment. I'm a 4th generation, family owned, established in 1912. And we mainly operate in the agriculture space and the construction space. When we came to Billings, we have an agriculture facility and also a construction facility. This would allow us to bring both those facilities underneath the same rooftop. And this will be our flagship store in Montana. We are spread around or throughout Montana with various locations. So really excited to grow, and ultimately our headquarters will be here in Billings. And after 113 years, this is our most significant project to date, and hopefully we continue to grow. Happy to partner with the city and work with them on the trail system, certainly with the landscape project going on. And that's been a interesting project, but going forward nonetheless, and good positive forward. And also, as Taylor mentioned, the Gray Eagle ditch, moving that to allow the water to continue to go. So yeah, look forward to having a much bigger footprint in Billings, and would invite you out to the groundbreaking. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Alex Pacici. I reside at 1015 Calico Avenue. I'm here to discuss the Yellowstone Ice Foundation. I just want to assure you, as the treasurer of the Yellowstone Ice Foundation, that we are being good stewards of our dollars. We're a completely volunteer board, and we have done a due diligence trip across the country, learning how ice arenas work, talking to general managers, knowing and learning what ice arena to build that we think best fits Billings and the community here. And then also talking to general managers about the financials, what it costs to build, what works well in their facilities, what doesn't work well, and operating it. So we are very comfortable with our pro formas and our costs to build. And we believe that this is going to be a project that the city can be proud of for 40, 50 plus years to come. And that's my piece. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Excuse me. Good evening, City Council. This is Andrew Houlihan. I reside at 545 Jackson Street on the south side of Billings. I'm a volunteer member, board member of the South Billings Urban Renewal District, and I was fortunate enough to work with Alex Buccici and the Yellowstone Ice Foundation on their 2-sheet ice facility. It's been a pleasure to see them be the good stewards they are of their initial donation, and then witnessing them fundraise on many levels. They're really reaching out to the Billings business community to fund this this public benefit to that ice component to the whole campus concept. So I just want to say, as a Southside resident, it's super exciting to see this happen. A new gateway into Billings that will be reinforced by all this investment on the South Side. And tonight you're going to be presented with SPURA's suggested contribution. And we really hope you guys strongly consider it. We're excited to be a part of that further part of their capital stack, which is a ton of private money, but one more piece with the public component to make sure this thing sings. It's going to make sure that the ice, excuse me, it's going to make sure the ice is affordable for the kids at the end of the day. The ice rates in Billings right now is above average in our state. And with every dollar raised, no matter where it comes from, it takes down from there how much they'll ultimately owe. And there's a world where if fundraising goes well, if this thing gets fully funded, ice rates would drop significantly below our nearest competitor like Bozeman. So we're going to attract a lot of people to this community with this facility, and it's going to be a great boon to a ton of business. It's already reflected in Southside investment already. We've had a lot of businesses build on those pad sites as a result, and so we're excited to see even more of it once this place is singing. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Former council member.
I'll hook on the last one because you have the last thing on your agenda. Pam Purinton, Billings, former city council member, Ward 4. So, as many of, I know all of you know, and I don't know about the public, but the property tax relief that is going through the legislature this 69th session is the way it's written up right now. It will sorely impact the city of Billings. And this is part of the item number 8 that I'm anxious to hear what else you have on your minds to do with it. But I have always been an advocate for our mill levy cap, the 74 mill cap. I think that has made Billings one of the most affordable, attractive places in Billings. Our voters get to decide how much they want to pay in taxes. And I think that's really important. There are some that would like to see that cap go away, but I think it's important that we keep it. I think it's important that the legislature knows that they really should not mess with what is the voters' desire. Some of the things, as I listen to people coming up and telling us about these wonderful things that are coming into Billings, I'm going, this is great. But with this type of a bill, it's not property tax relief for Billings taxpayers. It's going to be a hit, and it will impact our city services. I don't know, we haven't said anything about what it's going to do with the commercial aspect. In listening to the House, or I guess it was the Senate Taxation Committee. In fact, the mayor, you were there via Zoom, but you had almost every, I don't even know what to call it, but there were so many there that were saying this is going to hurt us. The agriculture people, the schools, the real estate. So there's so many people this is going to affect. So what can you, the public, do? What can you, as city council, do? To me, one of the first things is the governor's bill. Contact the governor. His budget director, Ryan Osmondson, contact him. Contact all of the senators in the legislature. Contact the Yellowstone County senators. These people are the ones that need to know how this is going to impact Billings. They're pushing amendments through. Daniel Zolnikoff, one of our senators, I know he has an amendment, but I haven't seen it. I don't know what impact it is. And the other one is go to the legmt.gov. all this information, all these contacts will be on there. And if anyone needs to find out more about it, I'm available. I know that the council members are aware. So we really need to push that Billings can stand on their charter, defend the charter that you promised to defend, and see if we can come up with some good amendments. I think it's going to happen, but we just need to see how we can either backfill. I don't know that they're going to give us extra money, but they might. But anyway, there is hope for Billings, and I just think it's really important that we do contact these people and let our desires know and how it will impact, and whether or not it will impact these new businesses as well. So thank you for your time. Thanks for working on this. I know it's not easy, but anyway, thank you.
Thank you. And welcome to your new city hall. Yeah.
Kevin Nelson, 4235 Bruce Avenue, on 5, 6, and 7. Not too much on 5. Let's start on 6 with the ICE. I understand you want to give them some money. I mean, they're spending a lot of money, you want to give them some money, but at the same time, in your sheet, let me get to it here. It says site staking and testing, TIF policy, unclear. You don't even know if it qualifies. System development fees, we've never paid system development fees on anything. Not usually an approved expense, but the Suburra board thought they'd just throw it against the wall and see if it'd stick. Geotechnical report. So now we're back to this unstable soil, which we played that card many times for $400,000. So you're telling me that all the motels and Dairy Queen and Taco Bell and Starbucks and Holiday and Amen Field, that's all on unstable soil. Maybe somebody should tell Montana Department of Transportation is right across the street. Their whole building is on unstable soil. You know, like I said, you want to give them some money? We're giving them a lot of money. We're doing all the parking lot. And I think you ought to be good stewards of your dollars and not give them stuff that isn't approved. Mechanical courtyard, not usually an approved expense. Again, not an approved expense, even by their own admission. Fences and gates, have no idea what that is. So I would selectively maybe pull out a lot of those details out of that ICE application and really zero in on what really is actually a TIF expense that you can actually justify, because at the end of the day, I don't think you can justify any of it, but we'll see. So then we'll move on to the Torgensen application. Well, let's just start with Torgensen's. Torgensen's. I did a site location for Torgensen's. Gillette, Wyoming, Powell, Wyoming, Belgrade, Billings Ag on Laurel Road, which is in the TIF district, but now they'll vacate, so we'll have vacant land. Billings Construction on Old Hardin Road, so I guess that's going to go away, so that'll be an empty spot now. Denton, Montana, Etheridge, Montana, Glasgow, Montana, Great Falls, Havre, Helena, Hysham, Kalispell, Lewistown, there's a little something I'll tell you about Lewistown, Missoula, and Deary, Idaho. Do a Montana cadastral report on Torgensen's. In Toole and Hill County, they farm most of the northern part of Montana, I think. They're one of the biggest farming operations in the state. And they're down here wanting $800,000 from the taxpayer? The Gray Eagle Ditch. When did they know when they bought the property it was going to be a hindrance to development and they would have had the seller do that? Why the utility? Why? Landscape. We got to pay for landscape. What? So when the guy pulls up with his $120,000 pickup to buy the $1 million combine and the $1 million tractor, or the guy with the
Mr. Nelson,
Learjet,
you can wrap up.
The guy with the Learjet pulls up to buy the new excavator for a couple million. We got to pay for the curb and gutter so they don't have to stand on the gravel. Really? I mean, these are some of the biggest operators in the state, very successful, but really, everyone else has to pay their bills. Everyone has to, all the other taxpayers have to pay for them. Really? And Mr. Kennedy, you need to recuse. You understand that, I hope? But you got to think long and hard about this, Torgensons. I mean, that's just a joke. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nelson. Very good. Any other public comments on non-public hearing items? No one's coming forward. We'll close the public comment period and move on to our consent agenda. Council, do we have any separations? Okay. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Kennedy?
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question of Chris. On item number 1 on the dealer park protective netting, is it $340,423? Is that what the total cost is?
Councilmember Kennedy, Mayor and Council, yes, that is the bid price.
And then we're not going forward with alternative 1?
I'm not certain. Say, Cole, can you help me on the alternative one?
Let's clarify whether it's being separated. We'll come back to that. Councilmember, could we just like to separate that for a separate vote?
Yes,
doesn't need to be separated.
I would ask to separate
Okay.
it.
And that's item 1A1. Okay. Any other separations? Okay, then motion, Councilmember Shaw.
Thank you. I move to approve the unseparated items of the consent agenda.
Very good. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Boyette. Any questions about the unseparated items or discussion? Okay, then the motion is for approval of the items that were not separated. If in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. If opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. And just for the record, I think I had made reference to Councilmember Tidswell. He did not join us online, so at least not that I can see. So we will move to the first separated item. Back to Councilmember Kennedy. You want to take over on that? Item
Thank you, Mayor.
1A1.
Are we doing alternative 1 or we are not doing alternative 1?
Councilmember Kennedy, our superintendent's going to help me out with the answer to that question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Cole.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. So what we are proposing is the 340, 423 and 07 cents. That is the full price with the option to use the netting with the higher warranty rating. Alternative 1 is a lower product. And that was our second recommendation, but our recommendation was to do the 340,423.
Okay, thank you. One last question on this. By doing the netting and everything, the only people that we rent out dealer park to is just the Billings Mustangs. Will this netting and everything be able to provide some protection for other groups that are there, or is it just for baseball?
No, so Mayor and Council and Mr. Cole, if you'll help me out, there are 4 teams that play there. The netting will stay. I mean, the netting, once it's installed, it'll remain up at all times.
Yeah, it'll be permanent. It'll be an extension of the existing netting. And so any of the user groups there currently, you have high school baseball. This is their first year. They're currently going to use it. College, MSUB, Legion Baseball uses it. And then as City Administrator mentioned, that the Mustangs use it throughout the summer. So it's a permanent fixture that just kind of extends what's already there and extends down the first and third base lines.
Okay. I will support this only because it's in the system. The one thing that I would like to see is either we start also using the facilities for other things instead of just one sport, and we start using the facilities for a lot of other things. And I will go along with this tonight, but I will bring it up for more and more because we really need more things at Dealer Park than just the baseball season. Thank you.
Thank you. Cole, while you're there, can you explain for somebody who is used to a $1.99 wiffle ball why you have to spend so much money for netting? Just for the layperson. And are we confident that we do have to spend this much?
Yeah. So there's significant engineering that had to go into this design. The netting itself is actually very heavy, and when you're spanning these significant distances, to provide a view from the stands that doesn't have a pole every 20 feet, you got to go in the ground very deep. You got to do all your due diligence, and so that's why we hired a consultant that specializes in this type of work to then put together a bid packet that then we put out to bid and advertised, publicly, and then got the 2 bids in, and that's our recommendation was to do the product that had the higher warranty, because labor is our highest cost, so just do it once, and I have to hopefully come back, in 5 or 10 years.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Councilmember Shaw?
I move to approve item 1A1.
Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Gulick. Any discussion? Motion is for approval of item 1A1. Seeing no discussion, if in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. If opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Councilmember Shaw?
So
Please do.
I didn't want to lose the chance to do that. We have a donation to Parks and Rec from TrailNet for the Rose Park Trail, another donation from TrailNet for permanent bikeway counters, and then a donation to the police department from Hansers Towing and Patricia Schmidt for Camp Blue, which is an exciting new program that the police department will be running this summer.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, that concludes item 1, our consent agenda, brings us to our regular agenda, specifically item number 2. So, Tony, would you read item number 2?
Item number 2, public hearing for FY 2025 through FY 2029 Consolidated Plan, 2025 through 2026 Annual Action Plan, and Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnerships Funding Allocations. There is no action necessary.
Thank you very much. So again, our goal is just to conduct the public hearing. This will be on agenda for action in 2 weeks. Kevin, are you our presenter? No.
Sure.
Assume that's Brenda. Brenda, it's all yours when you're ready.
Thank you, Kevin.
Only hit this button. Got it. Honorable Mayor and City Council members, I am delighted to come. Wow, it is a little bit better microphone than last time, right? Delighted to come before you for our public hearing on our 5-year consolidated plan. We've had a really long road, lots of city council presentations stretching all the way back to August 19th. Today, of course, on April 14th, we're doing this public hearing, and as the mayor mentioned, we'll have action. Hopefully we'll have action from you folks in 2 weeks. We've done lots of public engagement this year because it is the 5-year consolidated plan process. Lots of task force information out there, posting on public media, and another public hearing at our CD board meeting. We also did a huge survey this year, and my staff even hand-delivered surveys downtown and to social service agencies. And let's see, I'll just move this forward. We had 405 responses, and big shout out to Tam, who is in the back row there, community development staff member who managed this entire process. We, the citizens of Billings identified health and mental health care as the #1 need in the area. Although I did look up how much the county pays for health and mental health care, and that tops over $8 million. To Riverstone Health for senior services, the public safety mill levy for mental health care, an additional $522,000 for mental health services for the mental health center, and alcohol rehabilitation for Rimrock and alternatives for $475,000. So there's quite a lot of government money rolling into health and mental health care now. The first time homebuyer program came in second. Services for veterans and military members, and then home repair systems, etc. If we divide it by Service type, first-time home buyer and home repair systems, of course, were number 1 and 2 for housing. Infrastructure, streetlights, water, sewer, et cetera. And services, mental health care, veterans, and K-2 education, et cetera. So our con plan findings, I'm not sure if you were able to review the consolidated plan. We have dozens and dozens of data sources in there, but the housing cost burden that we have and lack of housing availability and variety are the top 2 needs in Billings for most citizens that responded to the survey. And also, it also takes into account ACS data, the Yellowstone Community Health Needs Assessment, other local assessments, need for supportive services, and neighborhood improvements. So you can see that we wrote the goals based on those findings and also feedback from the city council meetings that began last August. So we do have some first-year applications this year for affordable housing development, first-time homebuyer foreclosure, the AmeriCorps Vista program, and we have in the works a couple other programs, maybe some street light, maybe front yard street lighting in specific neighborhoods where we're not going to get street lights through NWE. There's a lot of politics involved with public works, I'm hearing. But there's also a new need that was identified by the Public Works Department of 200 households that need their lead water lines replaced from the curb to the homes and potentially inside of the homes. So we'd like to fund something in that area as well. So the funding recommendations, HUD has not released their recommendations, although the President did sign the continuing resolution on March 15th, and they have 60 days to get us those allocations. It should be, hopefully we'll know by May 14th, just in time for us to turn it in on the 15th, our consolidated plan. But we'd like to fund CDBG and home at 20 and 10% of the new allocations. That's the maximum we can provide in those arenas. Minimum of 15% of new home funding in the Community Housing Development Organization category. LB Lofts, $1.545 million. And the funding sources for this go back several years in repayments to the home program for other first-time homebuyer loans and other projects. And there's a small amount of that is also CDBG. And we're going to bring that to you, hopefully the May City Council meeting, although we're kind of waiting for the particulars of funding alignment and entities that need to be named what, where, and when in their agreements. So it may be later than May. We're just kind of waiting for the applicants to provide that information so we can get the legals to our legal department. Our lead service line replacement program, we'd like to develop that and carry it out for $200,000. A foreclosure program, we'd like to fund it for $50,000 as a placeholder, just in case we get into timeliness issues for expenditures, and I'll go over that in 1 second. And the first-time homebuyer program, Septed Park improvements. And this year, the Vista program has made a change where the city would not have to pay cost share, but we would actually utilize the host site fees that are provided to the city for placement of those host sites to pay down their housing expenses. That was a huge thing that Carly actually spearheaded in Helena during the Surf Symposium in Montana in March. So HUD is now requiring us to talk to you about and to the public about where money might go if it were repaid to the city. So I just plunked them into homebuyer lead service line replacement, Septed, and Vista administration. So on timeliness, we can't have more than 1.5 times the current grant amount in the Treasury, which is about $967,000. That includes all fiscal years of funding that have been allocated to the city. The repayment money increases increases our required expenditures, and our timeliness test is May 1 or May 2. So we have to perform all of our draws before in early April in order to get all of the reports to align correctly for our timeliness expenditure. Best practice is to choose shovel-ready projects that have site control, our environmental reviews done, and other funding secured. Activities to meet need, internal partner capacity. So coupling programs that the city staff can run in addition to offering funding to other agencies, running those two forms of program development are really important to getting that expenditure deadline met. We need to plan projects before funds are available, subject to availability of funds and agreements, which is why in the LB Lofts, for example, that includes this upcoming year's allocation as well. We have to make backup plans for backup plans and quick expenditure tools and programs just in case we get into trouble with expenditure deadlines. A lot of times our subrecipients can't expend funding that they've been allocated before the April deadline. Lots of things come into play, as you know. Lots of things can delay those programs. So we also have to be able to have staff expend those funds pretty quickly. So we do close and shovel ready programming. We can move funding between those programs, homebuyer repair, infrastructure, because it's in our citizen participation plan. We also put it in our consolidated plan as a major feature for relying upon staff to be able to expend funds quickly. For external organizations, CDBG is typically the last stop for money. They need to expend 75% of their funding by April 1. Phase in large projects, and we start to check timeliness each fall and continue monitoring program development there. So I'm giving you like an example of an expenditure timeline, and we also have our board chair is here, Joe Stockberger, so he knows this process very, very well. And so CD board monitors our expenditures and repayments, and then when we hit the fall, we're really looking at how much funding we have to be able to expend by the end of March, so we can draw it down in April. So you can see that we might have repayments coming in, kind of escalating the amount of money we have to pay to expend. We might have homebuyer program funding going out a loan at a time. We might have lead water program. We need to do some program development at the beginning of the year, but then we might have some loans going out to replace those lines. And then SEPTED park planning, we're looking at design bids, contracts, and expenditures throughout the next spring. And then if we have a foreclosure placeholder in there, if we run into trouble with these other issues, we can find a foreclosed home, hopefully, on the market. We can purchase that to spend down those funds. So what if an organization wants to apply for CDBG funding this upcoming fall, and they say, hey, we want to do something for domestic violence, for family justice, and we want to submit an application? How would that work? Well, you know, our funds go out one loan at a time. So we would, you know, run through homebuyer. Maybe we close a few of those. We have a few things that go through on the lead program, the lead water line replacement program. SEPTED parks, maybe in planning development, maybe we can drop that down into a new application. And the foreclosure placeholder can also be reallocated because of this nifty close and shovel ready allocation. So we could have $331,000 by September, October to offer during, you know, after a 6-week application period for all applicants to apply, and we could get an agreement executed in December, and then they would have to be able to expend funding pretty quickly, January, February, March. So that was something my board asked to come to you to describe, just in case that happened, because they're very keen on responding to the City Council's directions and suggestions. So that's all I have for you today.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Brenda, questions about Brenda's presentation? Councilmember Ripsis and Councilmember Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. Brenda, thanks for the report. And you mentioned the survey, and 30 pages of comments.
I know.
I don't think we've ever seen that in anything I've ever seen. I've never seen 30 pages of comments on surveys. So a lot of stuff in there was like, well, stop charging so much for rent. Well, of course, we don't set rent, so we can't really do that. But there were a lot of interesting policy kind of topics in there. Who's compiling all those and bringing them for us to consider? How are we going to have any chance to respond to those or consider those, discuss those, potentially look at policy options that we, the city, can do? Who's bringing those forward? How are we going to get through that?
We do have some things that are built in the consolidated plan currently, and the only arena I think that the city council has is to look at, I don't know if I can really talk about that. I mean, it's just to look at density bonuses and developer bonuses for development of housing. Actually, we're in a task force meeting, and another person said that in the Heights they're paying $10,000 to, hook up to the water line, and so that jacks up the price of the housing. And so there are a few things that are blended into the consolidated plan, and we've been working on a few word clouds to kind of look at, what that might look like, and we can update our consolidated plan with those too. But mostly, as far as I can tell, that the city council's really only avenue is to look through planning and zoning. You've already done Project Recode, which has allowed us to do accessible dwelling units pretty much everywhere we could in the city. And so I can ask Wyeth if he wants to talk about other policy issues.
Maybe Wyeth, if you'd like to jump in on this.
Thank you, Councilmember Rupsis, Mayor and Council. Yeah, I think some of the things, so there were a lot of comments. They did span a lot of areas. Like you said, there were some things that are outside of city purview. I think some of it though potentially could lead into our further discussions of like our infill policy and things that we could be trying to do to support some of what Brenda said in terms of housing options, housing development, access, et cetera. In terms of the council, I mean, some of the things that besides the comments, obviously, with what we got out of the survey is seeming to jive somewhat with the programs and things that we're already doing or that we're planning to do. Even the working with the utilities like the water, fixing the water lead service lines, doing some of those types of things, as well as some of the housing programs, whether it's helping with service provision like we're doing through Home ARP or through the first-time home buyer and those, and even a smaller home improvement aspect. So I guess we're hitting on several of the bigger topics, but there's more in there that would take some more unpacking, I suppose, to say, okay, yeah, is there some other stuff that's rising, that comes out of that we want to drill into further? One of the things that you'll hear from the Planning and Community Services Department during the budget conversation has been an ongoing conversation about how does the city respond and work within topics that are happening in the community regarding like housing, homelessness, et cetera. And one of the things you'll see in our little bit in our presentation, and it's going to be in our budget narrative, is actually ways that long term, again, you'd have to do some research and look at some examples, but ways other communities have tackled some of that through both working within city staff and also with partnerships in the community to move some of those things forward that we don't have that right now, but there are ways to do that. So anyway, so you'll see some of that that's I guess bigger picture, but it kind of gets to this idea of like, how does the city interface with community issues and interests where we don't necessarily have the ability right now with just community development with our HUD grants to be able to do that, but that there are ways to look at expansion.
Great, thank you. I look forward to those discussions, the presentation in the budget committee and all that. As you know, I've been kind of advocating for a housing director or somebody to kind of fill that role in the city. So I think this is really it's shining a spotlight on our need and be able to dive into some of those policy topics and get them in front of council in a more kind of urgent kind of manner. So thank you for that, and we'll talk more in budget committee.
Thank you very much, Councilor Rowan.
Thank you, Mayor. Brenda, I think you can probably answer this. So you had mentioned that you'll be back here in May with a proposal for the Family Justice Center. Is that right?
No, I checked with them. They're not ready to apply for funding, and I just checked with them. I think it was last week. Yeah, last week. But what I'm just trying to do is keep the door open in case they're ready to go.
So yes, that's what I'm trying to understand. So if we're not going to address it in this fiscal year funds, I'm unclear what we've allocated in the consolidated plan.
We've allocated nothing in the consolidated plan because we can't sit on funding and have it expended by April of next year. Our funding it needs to be expended.
Right.
So if they want, the plan right now is for them to contact us if they would like us to open that the application period, and that's typically 6 weeks. And we would, we have the city council's goals and priorities, and that is domestic violence and family justice. So we would open that up for all applicants, and then we would bring those to you as soon as we could within a reasonable timeline. They need to make sure they can expend it by April, though. So that's the biggest. Yeah.
But I'm trying to get a sense of how much might be available.
I think they were looking for $365,000, and I think we would be very close to that. Because if I did this kind of drip fund thing here, we would be at $331,000, and then with any repayments that we would have, and we'd be very close to doing that.
So, Mayor, follow up, that leads perfectly into my next question, which is this repayments. I thought when I heard your presentation, you said repayments were going to go into SEPTED, the lead line replacement, and something else. I didn't hear it going into the larger. Did I misunderstand?
Well, we don't have an application from that organization, so I can't really put money there. I need to be able to run 2 forms of expenditure, and that would be external organizations, and then we need to move forward on expenditures. Right. HUD did propose over a year ago changes to the CDBG timeliness deal, but they have not approved that at all. But this timeliness thing is our biggest issue, and we'll lose funding if we don't meet that.
I'm just wondering if it doesn't make sense to allow the home ARP or some other category to also be a recipient of program income or repayments instead of just the lead line, for example, and the other 2 you mentioned.
Well, we usually, like we talked about this close and shovel ready thing. So let's say lead line replacement is really, we have 50 applicants, then those repayments would get moved there. So our close and shovel ready aspect was something we put in, over 15 years ago because there were timeliness issues back then, although we met timeliness. But
sorry, Brenda, I don't mean to interrupt you. I just know the mayor wants to keep us on time, and I think we're not hearing each other. You had listed 3 places where repayments could go. Would it not make sense to just add a 4th just in case we wanted to put that into home ARP to address a family justice center? Or I mean, I'm not saying it has to go there. I'm just saying, couldn't that be an option for some residuals to go into?
Well, we do. The biggest issue here with developing a consolidated plan is to have a place to put that. So if we have a goal for, the second goal is services for vulnerable populations, public facilities, and public services. If it's written here, I do not have to do a substantial amendment later on to get a program like that in the budget.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Sorry, Mayor, I think we must be talking past each other. We'll have to take this offline.
I think she's saying that since it's there, it's okay. Is it right?
I'm saying that it would be, if we don't have an application or a program to roll forward without an application, we shouldn't allocate money there because it can't
I hear you.
There.
We're not understanding each other at all. So I'll just follow up tomorrow, Mayor, separately.
Okay, that's very good because I think we all agree that would be a important possibility, the Family Justice Center.
Yes.
So,
and that's why our board asked us to give you a scenario for how that could be funded.
Great, very good, thank you. Other questions for Brenda? Councilmember Bernice?
Thank you, Mayor. Brenda, the lead pipe program, has that been developed yet, or is that something that some other department's going to do? How is that going to be administered?
I've been working with Debbie on mailing, and the plan would be, if it's approved at this level and HUD accepts the annual action or the annual action plan with that in it, that we would, right now they're getting the addresses together for those properties. We would layer them across the low income kind of areas so that we could gauge where we could do a mailing for interest. And we would let folks know that this is going to be a city requirement. Would they be interested in this program, a loan program, and are they income eligible? And then we would develop the program much like we did our home repair program. So it would be a lien against the property. When they sell the property, we would get that funding back.
Okay, and so I guess it wouldn't matter then if it was owner occupied or tenant occupied. If that property is sold, the money would come back to the city, or is this program going to be only owner occupied property?
Only homeowner occupied,
all right.
because yeah, the landlords don't typically qualify as low income, and then we don't have to monitor them relative to who they're renting to.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Very good. Other questions for Brenda before we open up for public hearing? Don't see any. So thank you very much, Brenda. This is a public hearing on item number 2, our consolidated plan for CDBG and other funding. If you would like to comment on item number 2, this is your opportunity. Please come forward. Is there any, this is a public hearing, is there any public comment on item number 2? Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Taylor Kasper, Performance Engineering. This is not the action item I was here to talk on tonight, but I think it brought up some good points from Councilmember Rupsis as well. In particular, in relation to feedback that some of the surveys got as far as affordable housing options here in Billings. And I know the question was posed as far as, what can the city do to help with some of that? And I just wanted to talk about private streets briefly, because I know that will probably be in front of the council in short order, and the requirement to potentially build those to city standard. Looking at a project that we've worked on here recently, you actually just heard it for a zone change out off of 46 and King Avenue. That project in particular, it's about 10 acres, about 80 units. Looking at the cost that would be incurred to put in sidewalks and streetlights on those private roads is about $441,000. So taking that cost out, applying that over the 80 units, it's about $5,000 a unit. So just wanted to give you some real numbers as to the cost of that. I know that it's a balance with also the desire to have more SEPTED related items on projects, but just wanted to give you some numbers and considering trying to make housing more affordable. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Any other public comment on item number 2? Any other public comment item number 2 before we close the public hearing? No one's coming forward, so we will close the public comment period. We've accomplished the needs for item number 2, I believe. So Brenda, can you just confirm that item number 2 is complete at this point? Thumbs up.
Yes, Mayor, we're all set.
Very good. We'll move on to item number 3. Tony, can you read item number 3?
Item number 3, public hearing and resolution approving a property tax abatement for Rocky Vista University LLC. Staff is recommending approval.
Very good.
Mayor, if I could interrupt, Councilmember Tidswell will be joining us here online.
Oh, very good. Welcome, Councilmember Tidswell. Chris, are you kicking this one off? I see we've got Dr. Murtaugh with us as well.
Yes, Mayor, I am going to briefly kick it off, hand it off to Diane Lamb with Big Sky Economic Development. But before I do that, and as Diane's making her way to the podium, I'll just try not to steal their thunder, but state the obvious, which is how wonderful it is to see a 30+ million, I think closer to $38 million investment in our community for Montana's first and only veterinary medicine college program. So just like the medical school, I mean, I don't think there's any city in the country that wouldn't be excited to have both of these investments and help. Because of RVU, Big Sky Economic Development, the city, and many leaders in our community, we stand here tonight with the opportunity to grant this abatement for the investment. So with that, I'll turn it over to Diane, and we can go from there.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you. Diane Lem with Big Sky Economic Development.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, a little better? Okay, Diane Lem with Big Sky Economic Development. And Big Sky Economic Development is in charge of handling or facilitating tax abatement requests for the city and the county. And so tonight we have a request. Rocky Vista University School of Veterinary Medicine has submitted a tax abatement request for the property at 4130 Rocky Vista Way. The application fits within MCA 15-24-1501, and is designed for remodeling, reconstruction, or expansion of building structures. This statute allows for tax abatement on a new taxable value of the investment, and the new taxes incrementally increase each year until in year 5, the business is paying the full taxable value of that new investment. RVU is investing $38 million to construct the first veterinary school, School of Veterinary Medicine in the state of Montana. So it's super exciting for Billings to be able to say that we are the first School of Veterinary Medicine in Montana. Big Sky Economic Development created an economic impact analysis using Jobs EQ, our economic impact software. And the economic impact of this new College of Veterinary Medicine through direct employment, construction, and compensation is projected to be $66.8 million. Upon completion, the school will have a direct economic impact projected at $9.2 million annually. The overall direct, indirect, and induced impact of construction and startup of the operations of the veterinary college is projected to be $115.3 million. Upon completion, RVU will create and retain 170 full-time jobs and 52 part-time jobs at its campus in academic and administrative positions. Graduating veterinarians of RVU will join the workforce, providing continuity of existing veterinary practices and often starting their own companies, providing additional positive economic impacts, and hopefully staying in Yellowstone County. RVU's leadership team is in attendance tonight, both in person and virtually, and they're here to provide more information on this exciting new opportunity for Billings. I would like to introduce RVU's Dr. Murtaugh to provide information on Rocky Vista University and the new School of Veterinary Medicine.
Dr. Murtaugh, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Cole and council members. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Dr. Bob Murtaugh, the founding dean for Rocky Vista University College of Veterinary Medicine. I'm joined online by our university president, Dr. David Forstein, and our chief financial officer, David Irons. As has been mentioned, Rocky Vista University College of Veterinary Medicine will be the first veterinary school in Montana. Actually, it's going to be the first veterinary school in the Mountain West region. The nearest veterinary colleges are CSU in Fort Collins, Colorado, and Washington State and Pullman. We'll share a campus with our Montana College of Osteopathic Medicine, as has also been mentioned, a $38 million investment in a 60,000 square foot veterinary education building where construction is well underway. We'll train students in all species, and we'll focus on the needs of certainly Yellowstone County, but also the ag community and rural Montana. There's a need. There's 37 counties out of the 56 or so in Montana that are short of veterinary services at this very moment. As has been mentioned, Rocky Vista University College of Veterinary Medicine will create new jobs for 70 faculty and staff to start with. We'll enroll 125 students a year. Our first class, we hope, starts in July of 2026. And it's a 3-year program. They'll graduate in 2029 and join the workforce here in Montana. In addition to all of that, we also have several developing community partnerships with Yellowstone Valley Animal Shelter, Montana State University at Billings, Rocky Mountain College, Zoo Montana, and several area veterinarians as adjunct faculty and clinical affiliates for our students. So we're here tonight to seek your approval for our tax abatement for our investment in the community that we're embracing. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anybody else from RVU, Councilmember Murtaugh, or you're?
I think I'm the spokesperson, so I'm your target.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome others who are with us here tonight. Do we have questions for Diane or for Dr. Murtaugh or anybody else on the RVU team? before we go to a public hearing. That it is required. Councilmember Neese?
Thank you, Mayor. This is for Diane. And I was just reading the staff memo, and I know there's the fiscal effects talks about it being expiring after 4 years, but when I look at Exhibit A and B, it talks into year 9 and 10. Can you explain what rebate what tax abatement they're getting, A or B or both, and then also over the time frame, how much is that tax being foregone over the entire length of time?
So that is a 5-year tax abatement, the one that we're looking at for an expansion project. And so that when we updated our resolutions on our tax abatements, that currently has a 0% that you pay in those increased investment in year 0 or your construction year. Then in year 2, it's 20% of the total that the property tax payer pays. Then it goes up to 40%, 60%, 80%, and then in year 5, the full property taxes are paid on that new investment. And that is just on the new investment. The current property tax value is still paid at its current value.
Right, but what's the actual dollar amount over those 5 years?
Dollar amount, so we're
what's
looking.
the total amount we've given up over, just a bottom line number for over the 5 years?
So for following construction, given that we have not set at the legislature 2025 or 26 or beyond, we're basing those numbers off of this year's.
So an estimate, okay.
An estimate. Following construction, the full total would be $480,000 is what we've calculated based on the current tax structure.
Great, thank you very much, appreciate that.
Very good, thank you. Any other questions for Diane or Dr. Murtaugh? Don't see any, so thank you very much. We'll have a public hearing now. This is an opportunity for anybody who would like to be heard on item number 3, the proposed tax payment for Rocky Vista University. If anybody would like to come forward, please do so at this time. Ask that you keep your mouth close to this microphone and tell us your name and address, and keep your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Can you put up the little timer so I don't go over my time? You know I need it. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Always glad to be in front of you. Trinity Halverson, Executive Director of Yellowstone Valley Animal Shelter, shelter address 1735 Monan Road, and I wrote notes this time. I promised Bob I would behave. So I just wanted to voice my strong support for the proposed tax abatement for RVU. As the director of the largest animal shelter in the state, I see firsthand how critical access to veterinary care is, not just for the animals, but for the people who love them and need them in their lives. RVU's investment in a veterinary school campus here is not only a major financial commitment to Billings, but it's a game changer for our entire community. This isn't just about education, it's about expanding services, supporting public health, and building a stronger regional infrastructure of care. RVU has already shown their commitment to our city by choosing Billings as their home for this campus, and I know they could have chosen many other places, and we're lucky they chose us. At YVAS, we're excited to be partnering with them to create meaningful hands-on learning opportunities for their students and to increase medical access for our shelter animals as well as owned animals in our community. Create a little bit smaller gap in that affordability and accessibility care for veterinary medicine. So the ripple effects of this campus will be long-lasting, increased economic activity as described by people who can do that much better than I can, but it will perhaps most importantly provide a homegrown solution to the veterinary shortage right here in Montana and beyond. So thank you for your consideration.
I don't see any. Thank you. Very good. Any other public comment on item number 3? Any other public comment on item number 3? And please go ahead and make a little line there if you anybody else would like to comment.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jessica Hart with Zoo Montana. I I am just here in support of RVU as they are going to be a great partner for us. We currently contract for our veterinary care, and with RVU, they will be bringing students in to not only see our animals, but care for them in a timely manner. We won't have to move our animals offsite anywhere. They will be able to come to us. So it gives us a great opportunity to care for the animals that live here in Billings and that aren't going to be able to go anywhere. So our bears will not be able to go to a vet, but those vets will be able to come to see our bears. So I ask that you strongly consider and move forward with tax abatement for RVU. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Steve.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Steve Arviskow, Big Sky Economic Development, for 21 hours and 17 minutes more. And then the next time you see me, I'll be a civilian, I guess. I'm going to share some comments quickly, but I'm watching Dr. Forstein on the screen and curious whether he wanted the opportunity to share, and so it just in deference to
And that'd be
Dr.
just
Forstein.
fine.
I would say just very quickly, I wanted to come and encourage your continued partnership with Rocky Vista University. I can't think of a more significant, impactful partnership that started several years ago and now continues to grow. And I really wanted to thank Dr. Forstein, Dr. Murtaugh, RVU, your board of trustees. Man, you adopted our community in a big way, and you continue to make investments that will impact this community and state and region for many, many years to come. So Dr. Forstein, Dr. Murtaugh, RVU, thank you for that commitment and partnership. I would note quickly, you use local contractors, local architects, subcontractors. You're not just building this here from the outside, you're from the inside out. And so we very, very much appreciate the investment that you make that way and that continued support. I'm going to be excited to bring my cat down there for, I don't have treatment or something like that when you get that all done. But thank you for your partnership. And council, thank you for due consideration of this tax abatement request. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Steve. Good luck in 21 hours. Dr. Fornstein, did you want to comment anyway?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, commissioners. It is an honor to be able to speak to you today. I urge you to consider this tax abatement. We are very excited about everything that's going on with Rocky Vista University in Billings, Montana. With the medical school, our students are in the second year. They're about to start going on rotations, and you'll be able to see them around the city in their white coats treating people. The vet school is a huge enterprise for us. We hope that this is not only the first vet school in Montana, but it's 450 miles to the closest veterinary school. I have a new board chair on my board of trustees, and she said, I noticed on the site map, you've got room for a third building. What are you going to build in Montana next? And I said, well, let me get approval for this one first. And we're almost there. We're expecting to hear from the accrediting agency this week about our comprehensive site visit, which is a critical step towards our accreditation. So our commitment to Billings and to Montana, I think, is just beginning. And we would appreciate any tax abatement that you could offer as a part of the commitment back to us. So thank you.
And thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there any other comment on item number 3? Before we close the public comment, is there anybody else? I'm about to close the public hearing. No one is standing up, so we will close the public hearing and come back. Councilmember Boyette, Councilmember Ripsis.
Thank you, Mayor. Having conducted a public hearing, considered written and spoken public testimony, I move to approve the resolution approving the property tax abatement for Rocky Vista University, LLC, as recommended by staff.
Second by Councilmember Ripsis. Councilmember Boyette, Councilmember Ripsis, would you like to speak to your motion or second?
I was on the groundbreaking for the School for the Doctors several years ago. I want to go back to school. Now I want to become a vet. These are good people. They're very conscientious. I have no doubt that this will be a success. So highly recommend this organization. Dr. Forstein's been nothing but a gentleman. So good work.
Thank you, Councilmember Ripsis.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been privileged to be on the Rocky Vista University Community Advisory Committee for the last year and a half. Just been completely impressed with everything going on there. From the time we have the students, the applicants in town to kind of recruit them and get them sold on Billings, all the way through to their involvement in the communities they've been here, all the staff they've brought into town, just the entire energy that they've put into the community. I really appreciate that. I've just really enjoyed getting to work with them. I can't think of a better project to use as a tax abatement for. I would hope that we vote this unanimously and shovel money out to them as fast as we can. You know, just joking on that a little bit, but really excited that this vet school is coming, and thank you for bringing it here to Billings.
Very good. Thank you. Other comment on the motion? Councilmember Bernice?
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. I think this is going to be a great use of tax abatement. This is the type of tax abatement projects I think we need to see come to the city. We're going to forego estimated $480,000 worth of taxes over 5 years, and we're getting so much more. So I really, really appreciate them investing in the city here and bringing really a high professional skill needed, in the state of Montana. So thank you, and I look forward to supporting this.
Very good. Thank you. Other comment on the motion? I'll just mention kind of the obvious, which is that most veterinary schools are nonprofit, and this organization does pay taxes. So although it's always sad to see good tax dollars go, in this case, we're still netting a lot, and after 5 years, 100% will be taxed. So it's a good investment for the city. With that, we'll proceed to a vote if there's no further comment. Okay, we'll do that. The motion again is for approval, item number 3, in the full amount of the tax abatement recommended by staff. If in favor of the motion, please say aye. 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 If opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. That concludes item number 3. Thank you to our presenters and staff who's worked on this project, and to Big Sky Economic Development. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, one thank you. And I know the building's going up, but we're actually doing a groundbreaking ceremony on May 29th, and we will invite all of you to be there.
Very good. Thank you very much. With that, we'll move on then to item number 4. Tony, would you read item number 4?
Item number 4, resolution adopting the Eastern Montana Region Hazard Mitigation Plan and Yellowstone County Annex. Staff recommends approval.
Very good. Thank you. Our presenter tonight, I think, is Derek Yeager, who is coming forward.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Tonight, it's a bit of a housekeeping item, but the city does have a pre-hazard mitigation plan. It was adopted in 2019. Those have a 5-year lifespan. They're federally required documents. They're non-binding. They simply prioritize federal funding and make public agencies at the local government level available to apply for that public funding. What you have available in front of you tonight is the state of Montana's hazard mitigation plan. 2 parts specifically, the Eastern Montana Base Plan and Annex K, which is more specific to Yellowstone County. It goes through, it studies an array of hazards, everything from fire to flood and things in between, and prioritizes the types of projects based on the hazard and the risk associated with those hazards. Currently, some of that money from the old plan has come into the city. For example, there's one project now with the Public Works Department that has around $4.4 million contingent upon the adoption of this plan. Other projects in the future are certainly up to the department heads, but again, there's not a lot in there unless the plan is adopted. It is non-binding. There's no commitment. It is simply a federally required document in order to pursue future federal funding opportunities. That is all I have.
That's it. Okay, questions for Derek. Derek, it was actually a fascinating document. I can't say that I read every word, but you clearly left out one of the major hazards, which is that you might drop this thing on your foot and this 400-page document or whatever it amounts to and cause serious injury.
I'm sincerely impressed you printed it.
Yeah, well, I have to admit I didn't, but I owe the city for that. I do. There's a lot of detail in here, but questions for staff. We do, just to clarify, we do have to eventually approve the plan, correct?
This would be the adoption and approval.
Yeah. Very good. Councilmember Shaw.
Thank you. I don't have questions, but this isn't a public hearing item, so I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve. I move to approve a resolution adopting the Eastern Montana Region Hazard Mitigation Plan and Yellowstone County Annex as recommended by staff.
It's second by Councilor Neese. Either of you like to speak to your motion? No, and Councilor Neese?
Just a quick question. I think this is something great. We have to have a plan to be prepared, but I guess the question for you is how often do we run through practices of some of these scenarios in these different situations?
Sure. That's a good question, Councilmember. Mayor, Councilmember. We actually exercise various parts of different plans. So between the city and the county, there's somewhere upwards of 20 plans, everything from emergency operations, continuity of operation, hazardous materials, medical, health. Every single one of the hazards that is in the plan that you're referencing there has a more particular or specific set of procedures. Hazmat is exercised once a year, whether it's full scale functional, people dressing up in suits, or a tabletop discussion on procedure, general outline, concept of operations. Almost all of those are exercised no less than once per year.
Great, thank you.
Very good, thank you. Other discussion on the motion? More questions for Derek before we proceed to a vote? I'm sorry, we don't have a public hearing, so we will proceed to a vote. Okay, now the motion is for approval. Item 4, the Eastern Montana Hazard Mitigation Plan. If in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
If opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Derek.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Thank you. Concludes item number 4. Tony, would you read item number 5?
Item number 5, tax increment financing assistance from the East Billings Urban Renewal District to Air Controls Billings, Inc. for remodeling at 2102 2nd Avenue North, up to a maximum reimbursement of $56,699. Bird Board recommends conditional approval.
Very good. Our presenter is Executive Director of the eBird, Michelle Harkins.
Is it? Just mute it. You never know.
All right.
Good evening, Council, Councilwomen, Councilmen. My name is Michelle Harkins. I'm here to represent the East Billings Urban Renewal District and Air Controls to present this TIF application for your approval. So we'll get into it. Air Controls is a local business that was started here in 1972. It was started by Al Schaaf and his mother, Catherine, in a garage here in Billings, Montana. The building, they are now located in the eBird, right on 2nd Street. As many of you might have seen their businesses, I'm sure you've seen their trucks drive around town and some of the great projects they've been doing recently in downtown Billings. They started, and they're still a family-run business. Chris operates it with his wife and family in Billings currently, and they have grown not just into a Billings successful business, but regionally as well, as they operate in 5 states, and they're reliable. And something they're really known for, and something I really appreciate them for, is their compassion for their employees and the tenure that they have with their employees that they do have. They go above and beyond to really impact the community and the people that they work with. The project overview. There is the back side. It is now painted blue. The graffiti is gone, but that is the back side of Air Controls property that backs up to 1st Avenue. The project would be demoing, no, I cannot use that, but demoing the little white building on that lot. They will be removing the U-Haul and the storage that is used by other people, and we will be adding new curb, sidewalk, and gutter to bring it up to city code. Landscaping, that will bring it up to the eBird code. Public utilities, we will help upgrade them so they could have new lighting and security measures on their property, and then fencing. They will be also paving their parking lot, but we will not be paying for that or giving any assistance, as it will not be used for public benefit. So what we are requesting, the total project is $671,787. The TIF request that we are proposing before you tonight is 8.44% of the total cost, which is $56,699. So this is the current location and condition. So you can see the white building located right there. It is blighted. It has no current utilities or services that actually work, even though some are ran to it. Another reason why some of that utility bill is high. We have to help disconnect the services to make it safe for the community around it, and since we are demoing the blighted building. So we will be getting rid of that, and this property will be fenced in. You can see right there with the red arrow how bee fencing in this property has also is going to have a positive effect right there with a little martini glass. That's Thirsty Street, and then to the right, but it's actually the east of it, you will have like Montana Leather and a few other businesses that are successful in the eBird area that have been putting attention into the outwardly appearance of their buildings as of late, with the addition of the Montana mural that we had Nicole Knight do at the Mural Fest last year that is right adjacent to this property. Here's the breakdown of the TIF requested funds. So how they apply to the Montana Code annotated and the total allowability and how we broke this down. So there were other things that were allowable with the TIF, but we tried to focus on the infrastructure needs of this community at this time. Down there you can see where the demo, we decided to do, the items we decided to do 100% of demo, sidewalk, curbs and gutters, landscaping, private utilities, and then we did a portion of the fence. We didn't do, but that's what we decided to cover because that had the most community benefit and long-term sustainability. So here's how it has alignment with what we have going on in the eBird. It has zoning compliance. It's going to meet our fence and code and go along with the district and enhance pedestrian and vehicle access through the community. It is meeting set back requirements and building codes. It goes with our urban renewal goals. It's eliminating blight, not only that is left currently by the vacant property that is taken up by U-Hauls and abandoned vehicles, but it's going to improve the infrastructure of the actual building with the other work that they're doing that we are not providing funds for, that is going towards the total project funds. And then it's going to do other renewal objectives. The master plan, it is increasing walkability in the district. We have incomplete sidewalks, which we have another program we're working on with that. This is helping around that property. It is supporting public safety with the fence and the added security that is going into that building and other initiatives there. And we are getting more trees and landscaping with this property as well. So it is going towards our notion that we're trying to do. If you bring a TIF to us, you start a project in the eBird, let's bring it up to code. Let's get the planning, let's eliminate heat islands and really, really get this neighborhood where it needs to be. So here's just another way to view those in a fun way, but they will be increasing staff, they will be increasing their footprint, they can have more jobs, larger jobs, since they can store the parts on their property. So this also helps job expansion in the area as well. But the timeline got a little pushed back. As you know, we had some situations occur, but those are all working fine and we are moving ahead. But they are hoping to get started as soon as we move forward here, and they're ready to kick this ball down the field. So let's have any questions.
Okay, very good. Questions for Michelle. Councilmember Kenny?
Yes, Michelle. By the state legislature, all of these projects should be following this Little Davis-Bacon Act. You make sure that your contractors that are coming out and doing these projects are following the Little Davis-Bacon Act.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's nothing in your paperwork, so I was just asking the question.
Yeah, it's something we have to follow, so it's a must-do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Very good. Other questions, Councilmember Nice?
I'm sorry, I didn't have any questions, but I was just going to make a motion.
Very good.
I move to conditionally approve the tax incentive assistance from the eBird Tax Incentive Finance District funds to air Control Billings for the remodeling of 2102 2nd Avenue North up to maximum reimbursement of $56,699 as recommended by the Bird Board.
Very good. Second, is Councilmember Shaw? Councilmember Neese, Councilmember Shaw, would you like to speak to your motion or second?
I would, thank you. Michelle, thank you very much. This is a great package, TIF package. This is the type of TIF program that really knows that you're taking care of tax dollars and looking to make sure you're expanding your bird. I did notice something that I've talked to you about in the past. In your presentation, you mentioned that you only did 50% of the cost of the fence. And I think you and I talked about this before about trying to come up with a program where that kind of request doesn't even have to come to the council, it can come to us with a program. I think a 50% match like that is probably a good kind of program. And so have you done any more work on that?
Yes, and we're trying to think of a max that we want to do because as we discussed, we have a lot of work we want to do in the eBird and a lot more impact, and spending money on fences is not where we want to be putting our dollars. So currently, as we are switching from a 501c6 to a 501c3, at the same time we're doing that, we're doing our strategic planning, and this is one of the things we're talking about, realigning what our mission, what our value is, and really honing in on what we want like our 3 or 4 pillars to be and what we can really focus those on instead of just, as you say, making that one of our pillars is fencing. So.
Great. Well, again, thank you very much. I think this is great to support a company like this that started Billings, they're growing and bringing those dollars and money back into Billings community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Shaw, anything on the second? No. Further discussion on the motion. Councilmember Rupes.
Thank you, Mayor. Michelle, I'm struggling with this one. We're subsidizing a parking lot on First Avenue North. Is essentially what we're doing here, right?
We're fencing in a lot that is used for a growing business, family business owned in Billings, Montana, that has been here for generations.
Absolutely.
That needs protection for their property so they can keep their business in downtown instead of sprawling out into another area where they don't have to worry about the safety that exists when people are doing urban infill. So we want to keep their business in a downtown area where they've been for generations. And when they do stuff like that, we have to take care of the areas that might become blighted by not having the protection that's been there before. And all the things we're following are eligible items by TIF. So I know we don't always prefer that to be the items, but it's not what we want. It's what's eligible under TIF and what's needed.
I get that, and I'm really excited for air controls and value them, and I'm excited for their growth and want to encourage them as a company. But this is right across the street from the Old Town Flats, and we're fencing in a parking lot right on First Avenue North. I think it's at this point it's just one step too much for me to get behind. I hate to do it, but I'm probably going to be the only no on this. But I think just we need to be thinking about how do we make First Avenue North an inviting, exciting place to come and do business. And I'm not sure that fencing in a parking lot facing right on First Avenue North is there for me.
That's fine.
Thank you.
I would encourage you to go reach out to the businesses that are along First Avenue that are some of the people that came to us before air controls and were the leaders on this motion because this is the parking lot that they have issues with and that causes negative activity on their buildings. So we have at least 5 businesses that are ready to speak up on it. So,
Very good. Other comments on the motion? Any other discussion on the motion? Before we proceed to a vote. Okay. Motion is for approval. Item 5, consistent with the staff recommendation. If in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 If opposed, say nay. Councilmember Rips is voting in the opposition. You're right. So the motion passes. That concludes item number 5 and bring us item number 6.
Thank you.
Item number 6, tax increment financing assistance from the South Billings Boulevard Urban Renewal District to Yellowstone Ice Foundation for pad side improvements of a new ice skating facility at the recreation facility at Amond Park, up to a maximum reimbursement of $783,510. Saburo Board recommends conditional approval.
Very good. Thank you. Our presenter tonight looks to be the executive director of the Spura. Takes your The sound, Kevin, do we know what's causing that? Okay, problem solved. Very good.
Okay,
Dick,
good evening.
welcome.
Mayor, Council. I'm Dick Zier. I'm the consultant to the Southside Billings Urban Renewal Association, and I do have a couple of TIF requests tonight for your review and approval, hopefully. The first one is Yellowstone Ice Foundation and their facility. I don't know if you guys have been down on around Amen Park recently, but there is dirt moving is going on. I think the ditch has been relocated already, it's been culverted, and infrastructural construction will start almost immediately. I'm excited about the fact that the Yellowstone Ice Foundation has been out working tremendously hard to raise money. One of the issues or missions that I was tasked with was trying to find some public-private partnership, and I honestly believe we couldn't have found a better partner than Signal Peak Mine. They stepped to the plate immediately after we talked to them. They were looking at going out west, and we got them convinced that our site would be better for them. And I know they've been out on about 50 different calls trying to raise money for this. This project, this TIF request that I'm bringing to you tonight, is only about 4.8% of the total project cost of that building. The 95% of that building will be done by private funds. And I think as of today, they're over $10 million in funding. And I'd like to have Parker come up. We have a video to kind of show you what this building is going to look like. It'll take you inside and outside. Maybe somebody that knows a little bit more about this can help me with the video.
We'll see if we can't help you. In the meantime, can you turn on the highlights from Saturday night's game?
What's that? He's got a video on there. It's this one down here. I could get it now. Yeah, I think so. This one.
Is it the Yellowstone Ice presentation?
Okay, there we go.
There we go.
Sorry about that.
It's looking good now.
I think everybody here is aware of where Amen Park is, but this is one of the reasons.
And Parker, I apologize. Would you just introduce yourself, though?
Yeah, Parker Phipps, 5503 Greenteal Drive. So this is the site. It's right next to Amen Soccer Complex. It's conveniently located by fast food, hotels, gas stations, a lot of amenities right there. The site was originally purchased for the multi-generational rec center and now has been turned into the campus. And as you can see here, as designed by A&E, there's courts, ice, and the parking lot. This is the drone view of the building. It's a 70,000 square foot pre-engineered metal building. It's the most efficient way to build an ice rink in a building of this size. We have parking, bus pullouts for drop-offs. The video takes you into the lobby, which is a nice addition. Those of you that have been to Centennial Ice Arena, there's no warm area. for families and kids. So right inside the doors, you have a 4,000 square foot heated lobby. We have a pro shop, skate rental. We have viewing to both ice sheets. We have 2 NHL size ice rinks. We have concessions on the lower level, donor recognition walls, and sponsorship opportunities throughout. Here you can see our lobby sponsor that we just closed up this week, and we'll have an announcement coming. This takes you up the staircase to the mezzanine level, which overlooks the heated lobby below. This is a large lobby that isn't going to feel congested when we have a large event that could draw up to 2,000 spectators. The camera's going to take us into our skybox. One of the things that our nonprofit did is we visited 40 rinks, and not all rinks have these skyboxes, but the newer modern ones do, and this is the best seat in the house. It's a great opportunity to rent the room out for additional revenue, evaluate players in youth hockey during tryouts, and it was something we wanted to add. We also did heated seating. So this area is in part of the mezzanine lobby. So this is the heated environment. So if you have somebody that doesn't want to be in the 50-degree temperature watching a game, they can be in that heated environment. We have a nice spacious mezzanine that has tabletop seating. And then below that, there's 6 rows of precast concrete bleachers on both sides to accommodate approximately 1,600 people in seats with viewing of a total of 2,000. We also designed the building with community space between the 2 rinks. So there's a rink on each side and viewing from the center. So if you're there for a tournament and you have games going on both sides, parents with kids, this is a nice heated space to where you can keep everybody in one area. This is the community rink. So it only has seating for about 100, so it'll be mostly used for public skating and youth events. The Larson family made a generous $1 million donation for the naming rights on the community-style rink that we're looking at here. Even though it's the community-style rink, it still has 30-foot ceilings, so a very spacious feel. The view you're looking at now is in the marquee rink. So the rink on this side has 40-foot ceilings, so can definitely accommodate higher-level play with junior hockey, which we do plan to bring to Billings for the 26-27 hockey season. This view here is just the cutoff of the first level. Our facility has over 70 toilets, and if you've ever been to Centennial with just 2 or 3, this is going to be greatly appreciated. We also designed the facility with 13 locker rooms, compared to most ice rinks with 1 sheet of ice would only have 4. So a lot of space there to grow. We've also got future tenant space that could be developed down the road. Again, another bathroom block conveniently located on the mezzanine level. There is an elevator on this floor, and the building is fully ADA compliant. And I do want to thank Air Controls. Not only did they bid the work and get the work for our ice rink, but they also sponsored $100,000 to make the facility fully ADA accessible so that we can have sled hockey at our facility, which will be the only facility in the state of Montana to offer sled hockey, which is essentially wheelchair hockey where you're down on a sled. So those are some exciting things that are coming, and I can answer questions now if you guys have any about our TIF request, or I can answer them at the end after Dick's presentation.
Very good. Why don't we let Dick complete his presentation, and Parker, then I know we'll have some questions for you.
Okay, thank you, Parker. Can you get me back to mine? Right here. Okay, and then going backwards. Okay, where do I go here now? Get to the next slide. Okay, we'll stop right there. Alrighty, thank you. As you can see, the total request is for $784,510. It's all the infrastructure on their pad site. And my board had looked at this and decided that, you know, we want to be partners with them. If they're raising 95% of the money, we feel strongly that we should help with this portion of it, which is basically getting the infrastructure all ready for that pad site. Site and staking, $29,000. System development fees, $91,000. Geotechnical report, $34,000. Structural fill materials, $117,035. Structural fill labor, $128,285. Geotextiles, $48,400. Deep foundation ram, $89,250. Mechanical courtyard, $53,540. Fences and gates, $30,000. And mechanical courtyard CMU, $164,000 for a total of $784,510. We do have it in our cash flow forecast for fiscal year 26. And some reasons why we'd like to see this happen. Number one, every survey that has been done has been completed since 2017 says Billings has a need for additional recreation facilities. This project is provided an economic impact of $20 to $25 million per year to our community. This project will create several new jobs. The property is city owned and the improvements are needed for any development that would go there. We are possibly too late to help the 14 to 18-year-olds that are already in gangs and doing criminal activity, but hopefully these projects here, the courts and the ICE, will provide an alternative for them and will provide an opportunity for younger kids instead of joining gangs. We've created a public-private partnership with Signal Peak Mine, an ICE facility in the private sector. This partnership has already generated, like I said, in excess of $10 million in private funds. We also have a couple pad sites for future activities such as tennis and pickleball. On a busy weekend, there'll be 2,000 plus athletes are utilizing the soccer fields. And like he said, there'll be a junior hockey league team coming to town. There's a couple of them that are applying for it and they're negotiating for it right now. This is a first-class, multi-generational facility that will provide activities for all ages. No one will be turned away because of their inability to pay. Just the possibility of this project has already created a tremendous amount of economic growth in our Suburra TIP district. Funding this request will reduce the amount of Yellowstone Ice Foundation has to borrow to complete this project and will help pay this debt down. This will also help get the project finished and open. This has been a Suburra goal from the start to get both facilities open and operating for the benefit of our TIP district, the city of Billings, Yellowstone County, and the entire region. I went with Yellowstone Foundation today on a TIF request from a donor, and when we got there, they really didn't understand this project all that well. And by the time the team that presented this TIF request or invited them to be a donor on this project, they had turned around and they're going to support it. And I'm pretty sure we'll get a pretty good donation, maybe of a couple $100,000 or greater. So please give your positive vote in support of this request, and I'll answer any questions for you.
Very good. Thank you, Dick. Just a comment and then a question for you, and turn it to others. The comment, I guess, is although I appreciate your pointing out, and I think it's really important that this TIF request represents about 4.8% of the cost. I think you used the word project. I guess I'd call it the building. The project, we don't want to ever forget the city has whatever in excess of $2.5 million into the parking, value of the land and other parts of the project and the campus. So just to sort of set,
it's 95. Our request, our TIF thing would be 4.8% of that building. Yes.
Of that building. Thank you very much.
And that site.
So here's the question, and you may need to rely on Parker on this as well. It's great to hear that fundraising is moving along, and last I heard it was about $8.5 million. Sounds like there might be more in hand than that. If we have problems in our economy and we run up against a wall on fundraising or for whatever reasons, I know that they have FIB funding set aside to complete the construction, but that will drive up the cost of that debt service will drive up their operating costs. And they've said that, well, we'll just increase the rental for the ICE. My question is, do the pro formas take into account a significant amount of debt, if that is what is necessary? Or did they only assume that 100% of the fundraising would be raised and that wasn't taken into account? So I just want to know what the risk factor is if we have problems raising the rest of the private funding.
Oh, I'll let Alex answer that question, or Parker.
Yeah, so we have looked at that. We did a sensitivity analysis between fully funded to $5 million in debt. So currently on fundraising, if this request is approved, that puts us over the $10 million mark. So we're within that striking distance. We have a ton of momentum going right now. We have several seven-figure donation asks that are out at corporate board level approvals at the moment. We have several six-figure donations that are pending. So I think we're going to get to our fully funded goal, but in the event that we don't and we end up with, say, $2, $3, $4, $5 million in debt, we have looked at that on our pro forma, and it does put the ice rates higher. However, it doesn't put us out of reach for where other rinks that are privately run in the United States run at. So we're still within that bandwidth of ice rental rates. It would increase the cost, but I don't think it puts it out of reach.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Councilmember Rashaw.
Thank you, Dick. Question for you. I'm looking at one of the documents that was submitted as part of our packet, the recommendation and Suburra minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on page 4, which is the estimated cash forecast and going beyond 2025. So no surprise, huge advocate for South Park Pool. I realize that it obviously depends on district expansion, and that's a question mark that we're still trying to work through. But there's a little asterisk in here that makes me kind of nervous. Down at the bottom that just says that funding would be subject to district expansion, of course, and revenue growth of 2%. If for some reason Suburra doesn't show revenue growth, which it has in the past, but kind of to the mayor's point of what if it doesn't, what is that going to leave for that project? Because that's really the thing that I'm worried about.
Yeah, I've thought about this quite a bit. You know, let's say that we get cut something on our property taxes and it affects our budget. We also have several good ones coming on. TPA, that's a $400,000 one that's new. Billings Hotel, if I remember right, it's well over $100,000. The Torgerson one would be about $170,000. So that money, I think, will keep it at least at a break-even level and possibly still grow down there.
So just to follow up on that, so if there is no growth at all, the funding that currently is in here for South Park Pool in the future of 9.6 in FY26 and 400,000 in FY25, that still would exist.
That would still be there, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, we're saving it for that.
Very good. Questions? I did want to recognize the representatives from Ward 3 to actually make a motion on this matter at some point, but we'll delay on that. If there are other questions, Councilmember Bernice?
Thank you, Mayor. I actually have a question for Wyeth. Wyeth, and maybe the applicant can answer this too if you're not sure, but it was mentioned during public comment about some of these items that are being requested, and I'm looking at the document they had as, for instance, site staking and testing, whether it's included in the code, it's unclear. Some of these are set, saying they're not usually done. The structural fills all have to do with the fact the site's unbuildable, but we're building on that site. Does that mean the court's going to have all these expenses for unbuildable because the site's unbuildable? So is it? There's a lot of questions here, but has the site been determined that it is unbuildable?
Councilmember Bernice and Mayor and Council, I'm not aware that it's unbuildable at all. No.
Okay.
That's what I'm calling out there is that in past times where the district has provided urban renewal funds for a project, it was in situations where there was soil remediation and structural, geotextiles had to be done. As an example, the mobile store property down on South Frontage Road, there used to be a gravel mine there. So there was a significant amount of work to make that property be able to actually have structures on it and meet those requirements. So that's the difference, I guess. I'm not aware in this case that we're dealing with the same situation. But maybe somebody else who's more involved can answer that.
Okay, so just to be clear, it's not that it's not approved by the state statute or our city Billings code for TIF. You're just saying it's unusual that that would be included in this request.
Councilmember Neese, correct. Yep, we've seen it, like I said, in specific situations, but not on a regular basis with regular construction on properties that don't need that stabilization.
Okay, and then so are we going to, I guess, as you're administering these TIFs, reimbursements and that, will you be or Andy's team be verifying that all of these geotechnical things were done for reimbursement? Because it sounds to me like maybe the site doesn't even need it, but yet these expenses are here that we're going to approve.
Councilmember Neese, Mayor and Council, we have to go off of basically they'll have to submit proof of that they've paid for those have those things done on the site. So we would be looking at them providing that information back to the city when they request reimbursement from for that item as an example within this application.
Okay. And same thing, one of the courtyards, not usually an approved an expense. Is that something that our city, and this is under the mechanical courtyard walls, is that something that our city TIF policy doesn't typically allow?
Councilmember Neese, Mayor and Council, it's something that I'm not aware that we've funded in the past. It's basically where some of the mechanicals equipment for the facility would be and walling off that facility. I just don't have awareness that we've done that in the same situation. So that's why, again, you see that note in terms of, we've done some public infrastructure in certain cases potentially where that may have occurred, but I'm not aware of it in this type of situation.
So of this list here, you're confident that the 30,000 fits within the policies, correct? But everything else is kind of unusual or not really sure if it's should be approved?
Councilmember Neese, Mayor and Council, I mean, fences and gates we've done in a variety of situations for, whether it's frontage, buffering, access issues and things like that. So that one, is pretty standard. The others, I mean, I tried to be clear, like system development fees. We have not done system development fees in the past with projects that I'm aware of. We've stayed away from building permitting and fees and things like that as something that this city and with our TIF, our policy and the way the council has managed it, we haven't done that. So that's again why that one is identified that way. And then, the other ones like we've already talked about. I don't really, the site staking and testing, not even quite sure what all that would involve in terms of this pad site, but again, not clear that we've done that as either.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, if you don't mind, have a follow-up question for Chris.
For whom?
Chris?
For Chris?
Chris,
Okay.
I think you mentioned to me in conversation, if I remember correctly, about the negotiations of the lease, that the ICE group wanted the city to pay for system development fees at the time, and then we told them no. Is that correct?
What, Councilmember Neese, Mayor and Council, what you find in the lease is a requirement that system development fees have to be paid. Who pays them? And we were clear in that kind of negotiation that we knew they were going to be asking for TIF funds, but the lease is clear that the SDFs have to be paid. That's consistent with statute, and that's consistent with our rules that someone has to pay them.
But during the lease negotiation, initially they asked the city to pay for them?
That was a request as part of the negotiations.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, very good. Other questions, Councilmember Ripsis?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not sure who can answer this, but we've approved 3.9 million already. That was, I think, for site prep. Did that get us all the way through like paved parking lots, or was that just for moving the ditch and other kind of earthwork there at the site?
Yeah, Councilmember Repsis, the pre-construction stuff that you approved was for some of that additional site work, moving to the ditch, things of that nature. We have been partnering with Yellowstone Ice, like on the geotechnical, the samples and things like that, and the reports that we got back. So it's covering those costs. That was the original part. And then some of the ones that we brought you, the amendment 2 weeks ago, something like that, then kind of furthered that. And we'll be bringing you another pre-engineered metal building potential before we get to the GMP price.
Okay, so it's probably fair to say half of that cost might be associated with the ice foundation, half would be, or the ice facility and half would be for the courts facility. Is that
So what
reasonable?
what I can tell you is what we've got in our construction bid schedule is just shy of $4 million for the campus work. And that's, you know, for the parking lot, the paving, some of the landscaping, things of that nature. That's what we've got in there for that portion of it.
Including all the moving the ditch and everything, or is that an extra 4?
Correct. That's part of that site work, yes.
It
Okay, so
includes
4
all of that.
So 4 million all in, just for all the infrastructure, paving the park lots, doing all that kind of, and so.
I might add that the preliminary bid on the getting the infrastructure in there, they had estimated 3 to 4 million, and the preliminary bid that they got, you know, and it has to go out to bid again, but the preliminary one was 2.7 million. So I got a report from the architect that was very happy about it coming in less than what they thought. So that'll cover all of that.
So we approved a 3.9 or whatever, is probably gonna come in at 2.7.
Well, it should come in less, let's put it that way.
Somewhere, all the way through to paved
Yep.
and done. Okay. So to me, I think that's reasonable to say that this is part of the Suburra contribution to the building of this facility. It doesn't mean, and I'm not saying it should mean that there can't be additional requests. But I think as part of this presentation, that should have been made clear, that the city has already approved almost $2 million for the ICE facilities portion of this campus development project to do all the infrastructure, site prep, parking lot, all that kind of stuff that actually is going to have a public benefit, right? Because people at Amen Park will park there on Saturdays, right? That's all public benefit kind of stuff, and it's appropriate and fair that the Suburra help pay for that. And I just wish your presentation had called that out, right? I think you're still under that 16.67 if you include that. To me, I think it would have been a bit more transparent if your presentation had just called that out very specifically and said, look, we acknowledge and appreciate all the work that is being done already. We're asking for a little more help. To me, it would have a little bit different flavor. I'm honestly a toss-up right now, but it would have really helped me if that would just been open from the beginning.
Yep.
Thanks.
Very good. Other questions or comments? Councilmember Nice, we heard from you before. I'm just going to make sure that nobody else has anything else before we go back to you. Councilmember Rowan?
Yeah. Mayor, I guess I would toss this maybe somewhere over here to someone. Excuse me, following up on Councilmember Nice's questions about allowability. I think I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that the fact that these are not usually an approved expense, no one over here has concerns that they are unallowable under MCA. Is that fair?
That's fair, Councilmember Owen.
Okay. System development fees have come up, but system development fees ultimately are for the city to improve infrastructure, and 4288 Section 4 clearly says construction improvement of public improvements or infrastructure. So SDF unusual, but not, I think, unallowable.
That is correct. The only reason I primarily emphasized it is we regularly are asked to waive system development fees across the community and each community I've worked in. And each community's had a policy consistent with statute that someone needs to pay them. We can't just say, we'll let this one go.
And so in this case, we said, you have to pay them. And they went to the TIF district, and the TIF district said, well, we're allowed to pay for things that include improvement to infrastructure. That's clearly what an SDF is. And they also pay a CAM, is that correct? Some type of ongoing maintenance for some of the things that Councilmember Rupsis was talking about, parking lots, et cetera.
That is correct, Councilmember Owen.
Okay. And so we don't have any concerns legally that we're authorizing anything that isn't allowable.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So I think this is a tremendous project. I think you guys have worked really hard. I think everyone on this side of the room has been extraordinarily transparent in answering any question that they get sent at them. I am very excited for the vote to approve this, because this is going to be a huge, huge, huge asset to our community. So thank you for answering those questions, Mayor.
Very good. Thank you. Councilmember Nice? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Gillick, you had something?
Yeah, I guess I had also wondered about, I thought, hey, weren't we already providing money, but for the project? But I also think that, I think we are still within the match that is part of the 1 to 5. I also note that, I guess in terms of the concern for some of the items that haven't been funded in the past, I look at the city's policy different than the MCA, but item 1C notes that private infrastructure of public benefit, clearly that's this, including but not limited building facades, windows, doors, fire suppression or alarm systems, storm drainage, environmental remediation, already taking care of parking and ADA access. But I mean, if we're talking about building facades, there's ample expenses here in this project that would be dealing with building facades. So I'm not concerned about that. Initially I raised some concerns, I guess, but I'm confident that this fits within that. So I will support this. It's a great project, good for the community. There's kind of two things I'm looking for when there's TIF funding. One, I'm looking for a but for, like if it weren't for the TIF funding, this thing wouldn't have to go forward. And the other thing then is just looking to maximize the return on investment to our taxpayers, and through an efficient design that yields a really high tax revenue, or in the case of nonprofits, maximum public benefit. And I think this project probably meets that. I'm glad we have other projects that are going to be feeding that increment as well. We'll be seeing the next one. So I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Councilor Bernice?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councilman Gulick mentioned some of this because one of the things I look at for TIF districts is what's the ROI, what the repayment ability on this is. Because it's a nonprofit, we really are not getting any financial dollars back, or we may be, but it's not mentioned in the memo how much this is going to boost the local economy there that I saw. So can you speak to, or it's just spur development, can you speak to this project? When this project goes in, do you expect additional projects to be built in that neighborhood to increase the tax base around that facility? Can you speak to anyone who's talking about coming in and wanting to build next to this and increase that tax base? Okay, thank you. Do you know what the value of the land was that we're donating? Do you know, Kevin?
So you're taking me back to almost my first days of coming into this job, but I think it was just shy of $1 million for the entire 10
An
acres
entire
down there.
thing,
like
parcel,
900
and
and
that's
something.
increased over time, but it's only a small parcel of it. So there is additional funds coming from the city through the donation of the land, because we did have to buy that. I think we are really bumping the ceiling on the max on this. I have a real tough time voting for this as well, but I do think it has a good public benefit, because people, if they go through with what they said they would, allow a lot of the public use that, it appears to be from the pictures they're going to have a public rank and stuff. In fact, I guess that is a question. Are both sheets being built with this 16 million initially? Okay, so their plan is to build both right away. So okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor, we're ready for a motion here. I think we are. Councilmember Rogers, you want to make a motion?
I move to conditionally approve tax increment financing assistance. Whoa, what are we doing?
You're good.
Sorry. I move to conditionally approve tax increment financing assistance from the Esper to Yellowstone Ice Foundation up to a maximum reimbursement of $783,510 as recommended by Suburban Board.
Very good. Is there a second?
There is a second.
Councilor Kennedy?
There is a second.
Motion's made and seconded. Would either of you like to speak to your motion? Councilmember Rogers? I'm sorry, Councilmember Shaw?
Sorry, I just have a question. Our packet does say 783, but I then heard Dick say 784. I just wanted a clarification on the motion.
Very good. I'm confused. Mine says 783, 510.
But what came in our packet says 784, so that's why I just am asking for clarification from the move-ins.
What's in the actual application? We won't make it up. There must have been the form. Can anybody look at the form? See what the total says. Okay, all right, then that's the application. So apologize for being off $1,000. So the motion was for 784,150 or at 510. Okay, very good. Thank you, Councilor Rogers. That's consistent with the second, I assume. Did you want to speak to your motion?
No, I'm just super excited all the work you guys have been doing. I think it's going to be fantastic for our entire city, the county, and the state, honestly. So good job.
Very good. Thank you. Councilor Kennedy, do you want to speak to your second?
Just want to say that last weekend I was down there at noon for the soccer games. We can use more parking and actually more parking than what this area is going to be. But this will be great for the area, and the development over there is really helping. Dick, you're correct when you said we have the loop. We have other folks looking to build. We have the new laundromat and restaurant going up on State Avenue. So the whole area people are starting to look at it and starting to build. So this is a great project. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Other discussion on the motion? What?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just very briefly, I guess, not related, this motion's moving forward. I just want to point out that if we're going to start including some of the like system development fees and things, we'll have to clarify that, because there's projects that would have absolutely put that in there and they will now. And it makes it really difficult on the staff side when we've been consistently, working through it a certain way, giving the message of what's eligible and what the council through the policy has done. So I just wanted to get that out there, because it's going to come up right away now, and we're going to have to figure that out. So just wanted to put that out there as we move forward, that if that's a change, then I'll make the change. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Thanks.
Okay, I'll use my opportunity to make comment on the motion to also address that. My recommendation is that staff work to try to not include system development fees and anything that's, call it distasteful, lest we create a false impression, if you don't have to. So I would suggest that staff work with the applicant when they see these applications and put down things that we're used to. This was a $16 million project, so there was lots of other things that could have been listed there. The facade, the outside landscaping, a lot of the public things that could have been included here. So I think it's kind of a technical problem in this case. But that'd be my recommendation, is that we continue not to go there, at least if you don't have to. And in this case, we didn't have to. So, but for the motion, I think this is great. And it shows public commitment, which will help with where the real money is, which is in the private funding here. So, Councilmember Boyette.
Thank you, Mayor. My response to Wyatt is no one else is going to be coming forward with land that belong to the city with a building on it. Those all should be unique. This is a unique, different property. That's the only difference. This is our property. We're going in with a company to build on our property for us, for the city. Somebody building XYZ business down the road, this isn't the same idea. So it shouldn't be an issue, Wyatt.
Very good. Councilmember Neese.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for bringing that up, because that's one of the things that I'm really, really concerned about is voting and why I'm voting for this. But thank you, wife, for bringing that. But if we know that this is a one-off and it's not going to be a set of precedents, and the staff, this is not a direction to staff to start including this. Because as the mayor said, there probably is a lot of other things that could have been included to make up the $784,000. You know, I'll support it, but if this is going to be something that is now, Dick, you're going to start taking to every single applicant and say, oh, I'm going to include system development fees, all these geo things when you may or may not need them, then this is going to be really bad going forward. And I'm hope you're here, the council, at least 3 of us have spoken out not to include these kind of things in the future. All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Very good. Further discussion before we proceed to vote? Don't see any, so the motion is for approval of item number 6 in the amount of $784,510. If in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. If opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. That concludes item number 6. Thank you very much. Council, it's 8 o'clock. We've gone past our usual 7:30 break time. We've got one more item with item 7 and then maybe 8. Would anybody like to take a break? We will gladly do that. Yeah, we've got a request. So let's make it quick. We'll come back certainly no later than 8:10.
It's the Torgerson one here.
we missing? Those are Dan. That's everybody. Welcome back, everybody. We left off on item number 7. So, Tony, would you please read item number 7?
Item 7, tax increment financing assistance from the South Billings Boulevard Urban Renewal District to Torgerson's LLC for development of a new heavy equipment dealership at 3508 South Frontage Road, up to a maximum reimbursement of $843,502.05. Sabura Board recommends conditional approval.
Back to Dick for your presentation. Go ahead.
Okay,
Dick.
I'm Dick Zier. I'm the consultant of the South Billings Urban Renewal Association. I live at 3039 Golden Acres Drive, and I get kidded about it because I'm old and I live on Golden Acres. So anyway, this will be more of a traditional TIF request. They're asking for $81,828 for the trail, curbs and gutters, $158,200. Landscaping, $278,524.05. Relocation of the Gray Eagle ditch, $275,765. Utilities, $49,185, and total of $843,502.05. I've just got some pictures of what this looked like prior. They had done some dirt moving by the time I got these pictures. But you can see that it's a big area, and if you've been down there, it'll be a great improvement. It's a great business. It's a $13 million project, basically. You can see what they're doing down there. I'd like to explain a little bit why we approved $307,000 and now why it's $843,502.05. Is we were questioning how much we were going to be able to bond for our $20 million project, and at one time we thought we were only going to be able to sell $18 million worth of bonds, be able to benefit $18 million instead of 20, so we were saving money for that $2 million difference. But I met with Andy, and we will get the full $20 million. So what my board had initially wanted to approve more on this TIF request than they did. So I was asked to represent it and ask for what we're asking for now. And they approved this request unanimously from my board to bring it to you folks for your review and decision. This is a new business in the Sabura district. This request will help expand the walking trail in our district. It will provide funding for the relocation of the Gray Eagle ditch, transform unproductive land into a nice commercial development. The projected property tax for this project is approximately $118,426 annually with a 7.122-year payback. It'll create 12 new full-time employees, provides upwards of 50 construction jobs. This is a great example. I know that earlier on they were talking about why would we do something like this. Our Sabura goals, we have twofold. One is business development and one is removal of blight. And I really believe firmly that this project does both. This project, this request has been delayed at no fault of Torgerson LLC. They made the initial request back in August of 24. I recommend the approval of this TIF request, and I'm open for any questions. And so the owners are here, and they'd answer any questions as well.
Okay, thank you, Dick. Councilor Boyette, you had your hand up.
Thank you. Dick, one of the things we've kind of just been beating around here is we don't know how much money is going to be left over in order to build more stuff in the future. Can you guarantee us that by you spending this amount of money that you'll have adequate resources going forward for any projects that we may need, or if, let's say, the ICE needs more money as well?
Well, there's a couple things. If you look up here, this is the cash flow that we've done. We'd still have $1,780,000 roughly left over to do other things with, if we have to use it for the court. When we're fundraising, we're doing three things. We're raising money for the campus, we're raising money for the courts, and we're raising money for the ICE. And we will have control of the courts and the campus monies that could be used for this project if we have a shortfall. And we're out there raising money for that right now to have a cushion for any problem. We've told the architect that it has to come in at 20 million or under, and we feel that we're okay for that. And we still have money for the swimming pool.
Dick, on that question, the biggest piece of the unknown is the courts complex. We don't have any engineering estimates, architects' estimates. I mean, I'm sure we have some sort of conceptual numbers, but how are we doing there? What are our odds? You said you're pretty confident we can stay within that $20 million, but if you can comment on that, and I know that Kevin Iflin has been monitoring that situation. I'm going to ask him to comment as well, but why don't you
We're
go
both
first?
on that committee when they bring we've had about 3-4 meetings with A&E architects, and everything that they've shown, it's always been under 20 million. And then one of the reasons we hired the general contractor is she's working with the subcontractors. They're pretty confident what the bid will come in at or better before it ever goes out to bid. And maybe Kevin, you can add to that too, but they're real confident, and we've always stressed that it has to be 20 million or less. So.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor and Council. I did get very strict instructions. We cannot go over 21 million to include the design fees, so that's what we're hitting right now. Working with Langless Construction, we're at like 20,240,000 some, and we've identified about 500 and some odd $1,000 in value engineering that we can use. And Dick alluded to earlier, the first bid package that went out, it did come back favorably. So it did come under even what we had estimated for that. So we're very dedicated, and we'll be hitting that $20 million and then $1 million for design services. You gave me loud and clear directions to do that, and that's what we're going to hit.
Okay, very good. Councilmember Kennedy?
Yes, Dick, I was at a Suburban board meeting about 2 months ago. We talked about the 300,000, and there was an estimate, Councilman Boyette, that the 300,000 that they were going to give to the company because we didn't have we didn't know if the dollars were going to be there. And then Dick had gone to Andy, looked at it, and that's where we know that the dollars are going to be in place for that. And that's when I was at that meeting, I had visited with Dick about that and asked why they didn't come through. I just wanted to ask Mr. Torgerson, I had someone come a while back and say I had been in cahoots and everything with you. We haven't met before, have we? Okay. And I haven't sat down and talked with you about your plans or anything, have I?
No.
No. Okay. I've got to tell you one thing. When people come and represent themselves, that they're speaking and council people have problems, I'll tell you 100%, folks, I will support this project and any other project that's in our ward. I'm looking at this, and the project is spending over $13.4 million on this project in the southwest corridor, right in the middle of our district. They are also, it's only 6% of their total project. I asked Dick why we went so low when you had other infrastructure that you needed help with, and you had asked for a lot more than that. I hadn't visited with you, didn't know anything about it, but I did look at the numbers and asked why that was going on. The other piece is, this is the part that we all need to look at on these tax increment financing districts. Currently, Torgerson pays $1 million. It's $1,018,082 annually in taxes. Then if you go down, this project will add another $253,993 a year after it's built and going on after the first year. That's a pretty good chunk of change. And if you're looking at economic development in our Ward 3, we're very much in favor of this. I am going to make a motion to go ahead and approve this tonight. And I don't care if this gentleman keeps on coming back and talking about it. If it's in our district, I just wanted to ask you to come up and verify that I haven't sat down with you or anything else. But I'm a little bit tired of people coming up and doing things like that. TJ Rogers and I talked about it the other day. If it's in the middle of our district, we are going to support a project, especially with the tax dollars that are going to come back. It's a great project and I appreciate it. I just wanted to give that, and I appreciate you coming up and answering those questions, because anyone that reads your application would definitely say it's something we want to go forward on. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Kennedy, you said
Thank
you
you.
wanted to make a motion. Did you want to make that now, or did you want to wait on that?
I can make it now. I will make a motion. I move to approve the tax increment financing assistance from the Suburra to Torgenson's LLC for the development of the new heavy equipment dealership at 3508 South Frontage Road, up to a maximum reimbursement of $843,502.05 as recommended by the Suburra Board.
Thank you. Councilor Rogers, you indicated you want to make a second?
I would like to second.
Very good. Motion's made, seconded. Discussion now on the motion. Have anything else further on your motion? No? Okay. Further discussion, Councilor Rowan?
Mayor, I apologize. I was going to sneak a question in there first, but I got beat out. Dick, as to these kind of associated questions of do we have enough money here? Are we kind of overplaying the TIF? I see here on the balance sheet that you gave us, Billings Hotel and Convention Center, but there's no development incentive listed there. Didn't we approve an incentive for the Hotel and Convention Center?
They've already been paid.
They've already been paid. So that just needs to come off the balance sheet, essentially.
They've already paid.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor Anise?
And so actually, I believe this week the Trails Head Inn will also be paid.
Very good. Councilor or Anise? Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Dick, we see these a lot, and I think I heard during the testimony this, Torkelson's bought this land in 22, I believe it was. But yeah. So I guess I'm questioning again, when we look at this project, and what they initially requested was $911,000, and the project expenditures at the time was 5.4 million. And you've got the same number over here on your spreadsheet. But when you look at that, it includes the cost of the land at 1.8. So when we take out the cost of the land, which we normally do on all TIF projects, is take out the cost of the land, we come up with a project cost of $3.667 million. Our typical TIF policy of being, as it's stated there, of 16.67% or 1 for 5.
It's got the total project cost.
It would be a total project cost of $611,411. And so these continue to come from you, kind of misrepresenting, in my opinion, and what I see, the amount that we're asking, because that puts it at a 22.29% over our versus the 16.
We're looking at a $13 million project, Councilman Neese, and I took the land acquisition off and come up with $11,638,080.
Okay, so then, so this project cost summary talking about the $5.6 million, this is just the applicable expenses,
right.
not the total project cost.
Right.
Okay. And so
the total project cost is just a little over $13 million.
13 million. And that includes the land or does not?
That includes the land, but I used $11,838,080. That's taking the $1.8 million off of that land.
Okay, so you did take the land off
Yes.
of that. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
When I was looking at this worksheet, it looked like the land was included
No,
in that.
it's not in there.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Further discussion on the motion, Councilmember Ripsis.
Thank you, Mayor. Dick, I'm going to support this application, but I'm just curious, where was the confusion with the forecast coming in? Because there isn't a single year in this, in your cash flow estimates, that you look like you're even close to going negative. Where was the confusion about the extra $300,000, $400,000?
Well, when we were starting to do it in the cash forecast initially with Andy, he was under the impression we might only get $18 million on bonds instead of 20 because of whether it was tax exempt bonds or whether it was taxable bonds. So I went and Googled some things, and I went and met back with Andy, and he did realize that we can go ahead and go taxable and still get the $20 million. And so we'll have, that's why we picked up $2 million. We also pushed the payment back a year because we're not going to borrow for a while, so it won't come in fiscal year 26. It'll come in probably fiscal year 27, the first payment. So we did a couple things.
Okay, so the cash flow significantly changed
Right.
between what you presented to the board.
No.
In the
from the
February.
300, well, when we approved the 370, yeah, it changed about $3 million.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Councilor Bernice?
Thank you, Mayor. One more question, Dick. It was mentioned that this was brought to the board and initially 307,000 was approved by the board.
Mhm.
What happened to the application after the board approved that? What did the applicant accept the 307,000 request initially?
I never brought it here.
I understand that, but did they, when you presented 307,000, did they accept that? And then the plan was then to bring it to the council, 307,000, or did they reject it?
Who rejected? I'm not quite following.
Okay, the applicant,
The applicant?
Yes.
They wanted us to relook at it.
Okay, so they didn't you didn't close the application or anything, that you asked them to relook at it, and then that's where you found the extra money?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Any other discussion on the motion? I'm just going to comment while we've got Mr. Ferguson here and his consultants. And this is not an objection to the application at all, but it does include money for the development of the trail. But the trail, as I understand it, is the paved trail along the highway, which will be great, very important. But there's also a trail to be built along the river itself. And just want to remind everybody, at this point, I don't think we have a way to build that or a funding source for that. So I'm hoping that maybe Torgerson's, with all of their equipment, could maybe help run a grader down there to work on that trail. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just even a natural trail at some point. But keep that in mind, if you would, because that's a great need and that's going to be a great resource for our community, for sure. Okay, are we ready for a vote on this motion, Council? Okay, so the motion is for approval. Item number 7, consistent with the staff recommendation, in that dollar amount. If in favor of the motion, please say aye. Yes. Aye. If opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. That concludes item number 7. Brings us to item number 8, just because we always do. Tony, what's your read item number 8?
Can I just add one thing before you move on?
Wait, excuse me, Tony, go ahead.
I'd just like to thank you, council, for your support down there, not only on this project, but all the whole recreation center project. And if you get a chance to drive down there, it's really exciting to go down there and see about 6 or 7 big pieces of equipment starting to work down there. After 5 years, I really appreciate the support you guys and sticking with us on this project. I think we'll all benefit tremendously, the whole region.
Very good. Thank you, Dick. Tony, go ahead on item number 8.
Legislative update and discussion. Council to provide staff direction if necessary.
Very good. Thank you. I'll turn it to you, Chris. I'm just going to give a little bit of a report here on an oral version of an email that I sent out to council on Senate Bill 528 that I testified on this morning, just so the council's up to speed. Hopefully people have had a chance to see the email I sent. It was, this is another one of the tax reform bills that would reduce the value of our mill. So it reduces the rate applicable to residential properties and class 4 commercial, and as a result of shifting a lot of that burden to larger taxpayers. Council member or former council member Purington observed a lot of people were very unhappy about that and testified in opposition to 528. I testified just to make sure that everybody understood the impact on Billings. Andy's number is that because we can't increase our mills, it would be about in excess of a $20 million reduction of our tax base, or about 37%. And of course, I described that as being catastrophic for the board, just so they would understand that. On the larger question of possible alternatives, remember, I only had about 60 seconds. So I just wanted to make clear, and I think this is consistent with the meeting that the Legislative Affairs Committee had last Wednesday, that Billings' preference is that they do nothing to reduce pass anything that would reduce the value of a mill, which is shorthand for Senate Bill 90, which is still out there. That would be our preference. And then secondly, if that were not a possibility and they had to reduce the value of our mill, that they find a way to compensate us for that, reimburse us for it. And that would be potentially through the increase of our entitlement share, for example. That'd be option 2. And then option 3, and my terminology was as an absolute last resort, that they consider something that would impact or override our mill levy charter cap in some form. No other details beyond that. But I just wanted people to understand that that was the kind of order of dance that I presented to the committee. There was no discussion. They were just taking input, and then they went on to the next bill on that topic. So anyway, I just want people to understand what had happened at that hearing this morning. Kendra, you're our Legislative Affairs Committee Chair. Did you want to add anything? And Chris, I don't know if you had anything, and we'll open it up for the council for questions or discussion, I guess.
I'm happy to highlight
You go
some
first.
pieces here, and then so I'll try not to repeat what the mayor just did, but I was just going to touch on basically the three primary buckets that are hot this week, all dealing with taxes and revenue. So tomorrow morning we do have Councilmember Aspenleiter and Director Melling both testifying against Senate Bill 539. That's the assessment bill that would have significant impacts on our street assessment, possibly, not certain, but possibly our stormwater assessment. And the bottom line is what that would do is change who. It turns the assessment from an assessment to a tax. That then has a significant impact on who pays. If you're a not-for-profit, and that includes our hospitals and many of our others, you don't pay. That's about $2 million. We collect about $2 million in street assessments from non-tax entities. So if we were going to collect the same amount of revenue to take care of the street system, that would be a shift away from those onto the rest. So that's very significant. And then it would require a vote of the public in order to continue to move forward. So just a very impactful bill relative to how we take care of our street system. The next one I was going to touch on very lightly, Senate Bill 90, as the mayor just mentioned. That has been our preference. We've spoken very strongly on that for since the time we were there about a month ago. We heard pretty soundly from our local delegation that they preferred 90, and we continue to support it. And it has been, these are all my terms, but there's a renewed interest in seeing if 90 can get back traction. They tried to blast it on the House floor last week, and they were close. The piece of paper I gave you, with the exception of the highlight top and bottom, is a piece of paper that's floating around the Capitol, which emphasizes, frankly, how can the state get more resources into Senate Bill 90 so that Senate Bill 90, as it currently stands, I think it would save the typical Montanan who's living in their home about $200 or $250 a year. Don't hold me to that number, but it's right in that range. But the bottom line is the state has got, it has to end. It's supposed to be prepared to go into its next legislative session with a minimum of 4% reserve. That's $240 million. So it ended the 23 session anticipating to come in with about twice that. So that would be wonderful if we could do that, $500 million. Instead, when they got here in 2025, it was closer to $1 billion. So part of the emphasis around the capital is you have resources to grow that number from 250 to 500 to 7 to whatever the magic number is. So that's the only purpose for that. And then actually, last thing I don't need to repeat, because I was going to say, I think exactly what the mayor said relative to this. If those, particularly if Senate Bill 90 isn't the path that's getting traction, but instead either 150, House Bills 155, 231, or 528, all those drive down the value of a mill. All those present significant problems for us. Our first preference is don't go that path. The second preference is if you do go that path, you've got reserve, you backfill Billings in Sunburst and at least buy us 3 years so that we can go to our own voters and deal with our charter and deal with our issues. But last choice is the amendment that would by the state of Montana, in essence, override these charters, ours and Sunburst, because they're not fans. I don't want to, the they is a loose term, but certainly when talking with legislators who are working on tax reform, then that's not new to this session. This Billings problem and its charter is, we heard about it each time we testify. Well, didn't you testify on this 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 16 years ago? I've been up here forever, and Billings has always got this issue. We're tempted to find a way to say every city in this state is going to have a tax structure that we control in Helena, not you control locally. So that is the last choice that was on the table. So with that, happy to help in any way we can.
Okay, thank you. So, Council, we just wanted to have this item on the agenda to provide update and also receive any input or other direction from the council. So hand it back to you all if there's any questions, comments, correction. Councilmember Brown.
I have some comments. I guess I'd start maybe with a rhetorical question, although I'd invite folks to answer it if they have an interest in it. And I'm speaking specifically here to the proposals to eliminate the mill cap in the charter. I am curious as to how we've got here procedurally, that we have members of this council, members of the staff, up telling legislators that we don't like it, but if you want to take it out of the charter, you know, we understand that needs to be an option. I understand that the legislative committee voted for it, but we were presented at the start of the session with a resolution that said these are generally going to be the priorities. And in there was this, we're generally going to support what the League of Cities and Towns does, particularly on local control issues. And the League's resolutions are pretty clear. They want to oppose any measure that limits or diminishes municipal authority. They want to oppose any legislation or policies that undermine or weaken local decision-making authority. I mean, it's over and over and over that the League would, and by our resolution, we would generally as well say, you cannot, you could do a lot of things, but you cannot so blatantly override the will of the voters. And I think I think in general, the path the city administrator and others have laid out makes a lot of sense. I don't think that rebates are great policy, but they seem to be the least damaging. If there is going to be 231 or some other bill, then let's do a short-term bridge that allows us to think through our policy or go back to our voters and let the voters' voice be heard. But the idea that we would even briefly give permission for Helena to reach in and grab what I think many in this community would argue is the heart of the Billings Charter is to me very concerning. I don't think it is reasonable for the legislature to characterize our mill levy cap as a problem. It is not a problem, it's the will of the voters. We have some self-governing powers. Under the statute right now, the voters have the authority to impose a cap they have. And we have gone through, I think some of you have done this way longer than I have, multiple local government review time periods, where the issue that keeps coming up in the public is, No, we don't like the structure of council necessarily. Maybe it's too big, maybe we want something different, but we are unwilling to open it because we think as soon as we do, that mill cap is gone. So the voters continue anecdotally, admittedly, but anecdotally to say that mill levy charter really, that mill levy cap in the charter really matters. It's something that is unique, but that's okay because that's what self-governance is. That's what a charter is. It is a unique local constitution. And I think our voters have been very clear. Now, if we can persuade the legislature to give us time to go back to the voters, if people think that's wise, then let's do that. But to end run the voters and take out what is so important to them, I don't think that's acceptable policy. And I understand all the sort of hostage negotiations. But what if, but what if, but what if? I get it. I would recommend that we put our full energy into first rebates, and if not rebates, then let's find a smart way to phase in the impact to Billings and Sunburst of what 231 would do. But I think even opening the door to Helena reaching in and grabbing that provision out of the charter is deeply problematic, and it's one that I won't support. So I just wanted to share those perspectives. I know what the arguments are going to be against them, but let's get them on the record because I think this is really essential that we respect our voters, give them a chance to be heard, and not continue to allow Helena to argue that the way our charter is drafted by our voters is a problem. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Thank you. Councilmember Shaw?
Thank you. To be fair, I think there's a slight mischaracterization there in that I agree with you that the direction that I think the legislative committee has given and the direction staff has taken is support rebates, because if we can do it that way, that's much simpler for Billings. If not, do option number 2. If we get down to option number 3, we have to have some answer. And so I think I hear what you're saying, but it is not staff's recommendation and it's not the legislative committee's recommendation that we think it's a great idea to override our charter. I want to be very clear that we have legislators that are saying, if this is the only option we will consider, what is the language that you need in there to make this work? And I think it's very responsible for the city to be engaged in those discussions, because otherwise we're going to have a really terrible amendment that we're scrambling at the end to make legally sound, which I don't think is good policy. So I just want to say I hear you, and I think we're actually on the same page. And I want our community to hear that as well, that it's not the city trying to advocate for these things to overturn the will of the voters. We have legislators that are saying they may want to do it, and if they end up doing it, we need to do it in the least damaging way possible for the city.
Can I respond, Mayor?
Sure.
Thanks. I just want to make sure that I'm clear, because I hear you. What I'm saying is I don't agree that it's responsible. I don't agree that it's responsible to even wink at the idea that permanently removing the mill levy cap is okay in any fashion. And my position would be, if you want to do rebates, do rebates. If we're going to do 231, let's find a way to phase it in, whether it's entitlement share or some other kind of smart strategy that people who do tax policy know and I don't. But to me, even engaging in the process of negotiating the language is implicitly suggesting that there are members of this body who are okay with it happening, or at least want to, I guess, allow it to happen in the least damaging way, maybe. And I think reasonable people can disagree, and I do. I would not engage in the conversation. My position would be the voters have spoken. We took an oath to uphold our charter. Our charter says there's a mill levy cap. We are bound, and that's the end of the conversation. Now, if staff want to give technical assistance on legal drafting, that's one thing. But for any of us, I think, to go to a hearing and say, listen, we don't love it, but if you got to take away the charter cap, then that's an option that's on the table. I would say it should not be an option on the table. So I just want to be clear that I hear you, and I think we're in different places on that last one.
Councilor Rowan, if I can comment, looking for agreement. I have not heard any disagreement with the priority of the first 2 items, namely nothing that reduces the mill levy, the value of our mill rather, and then second, general fund backfill, reimbursement, however you want to describe it, probably for a limited amount of time. That's what was in what Chris mentioned, and in that order. So great agreement. So the only point of disagreement is the third option, the impact on the charter. My observation there is, though, one option would be, I guess 3 options. One, we oppose anything that impacts the charter. One, we take no position because we don't have a consensus. We'll let individuals speak to that issue in Yellowstone or in Helena, whatever, if they want to, but there is no city position on that. The third option would be we favor something that has an impact on our charter, and at which point we have to debate potentially what that would be. I found it interesting when you were kind of commenting and going through these options that you would potentially support, I think your phrase was a phase in of impacts of what 231 these tax bills would have. My thought there is that there really, as far as I can tell, no way to say that the charter is only partly in effect. You know, it's hard to be partly pregnant. And if the legislature is going to go to something that impacts our charter but not as much, that's a theoretical possibility. But it is still reliant upon the same legal basis that the legislature has the legal authority to do that. And it may be less distasteful because it has less of an impact. But I just make that point that we might be in that third category, having to decide how much of the impact. What I think I heard you at the end say, no, you don't even want to go there at all. But I just make the point there's issues of degree if we do go into that third item.
Mayor, I'd like to clarify, but I acknowledge that Councilmember Rupsis is looking for recognition as well. So
Okay, thank
I don't
you.
want to jump in, but
Okay, why don't we hear from Councilor Repsis? Go back, Councilor Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm actually going to agree with Councilmember Owen here. I don't think we should support anything in the up at the charter that permanently removes our. I'm sorry, up at the legislature that permanently removes our self-governing powers and overrides our charter permanently. I do think if we have to get to a third option, that third option should be the state allows municipalities with mill caps in place a 1-year exemption to raise the same number of dollars as the prior year. Keeps a flat budget, but for 1 year is allowed an exemption under the condition that the municipality holds an election this November. And then voters get to take a choice. Is the mill cap something we want to keep? Understanding the complications, the budget challenges that we'll have the next time we come around the budget? Or do we want to remove that restriction ourselves, adjust it, what have you, and go forward, you know, at the current level where we are. I don't think we should allow the state to in any way permanently override it. But I think if there were a 1-year reprieve, I don't think the education is going to be as hard as we think. I don't think there's more than 100 people in Billings that could really say what the mill cap is. And most of them have served on this body at some point over the last 10 or 20 years. There are a few out there, but most people have no concept with how this works. They have no understanding of the types of financial pressures that the city would be under if in any one of these situations. It's just that complicated. I don't blame people for not understanding it. It's complicated. If you don't devote a lot of time to trying to understand it, you're just not going to. So I think we have to get, if there's any chance of getting my support, I think the first two options are fine. But the third option has to be coupled with a get out to the vote this November. It's not going to be any better next November. We have a 3-year phase in kind of. Next year is not going to be better. It's a general election year, and those are always worse. We're trying to educate people on local issues. And 3 years from now, who knows what people's attentions will be on. So it's got to be this November, and a 1-year reprieve is it. And I think we can make the argument of we know exactly what this impact will be to our budget coming up in 6 months if we vote no or yes or what have you. People will see that their taxes went down this year. And we can say, look, we can keep the same budget and your taxes will still be lower next year. We're not going to increase your taxes. we're going to switch to this dollar-based, floating mill base as opposed to a mill cap. I don't think it's that hard of an argument to make.
Okay, the temporary or partial override option, I would call that. Councilmember Kenny, you want to be heard, but should we hear from Councilor Owen and then Councilmember Kenny?
Yeah, Mayor, just, I think those are interesting concepts and fine to talk about. I just wanted to be clear because when I talked about phasing in on 231, I was essentially assuming a step down entitlement share or some other backfill. I am assuming, maybe incorrectly, that we would not be able to get a full 6.9 million backfill over a period of time, but that it might have to step down to allow us to phase in budget cuts. I think, I think what Councilmember Repsis is proposing is worthy of conversation, but I do think we should keep in mind there's the potential of two questions to the voters. The one is, do you want a mill cap or do you want to go under the MCA formula? And then the second would be, if the choice is a mill cap, what mill cap, right? If voters still wanted to have one, would it be, let's go back in time when it was imposed, what was 74 mills worth then? What would be the equivalent today? So I think we should have some conversations, because in this case, council would be putting the question to the voter of what that might be. We don't have to do that tonight, but I think those are all concepts that are worth talking about. My concern is exactly what Councilmember Repsis indicated: a permanent removal of the citizens' ability to implement that type of self-governance provision.
Very good. Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy.
I just want to say, with the mill cap that was put on years ago, could have been, a lot of you probably don't remember that time, but really when the mill cap was put on and we went out and voted on it, the one thing with the mill cap was that it was set high enough so there is an opportunity for growth. Where it's becoming a problem now is we have hit the top of where the mill cap is. So one of these days, that needs to be addressed. And you can kick the can down the road, or one of these days it has to be. But that's not what I really wanted to talk about. Is way back when Senator Keeney started, and I guess I've been around a long time, because we started with the 12% business property taxes, and the legislature wanted to go from 12 to 9%. We said, if you're going to cut the business property taxes, we need to be reimbursed. And in the bill, Senator Keating did put in the reimbursement for the local communities, and that passed. When it came back again, and we went from 9 to 6, it was the same thing. And when we did that, there was a bill that reimbursed us. So we had two bills out there reimbursing local communities. So it's been done many times. The third time, when we went from a 6% property tax to 3%, that was the time of the big bill. And that was the time of the entitlement. And that's where they put the money in to go down in the entitlement. So, if we're talking to legislators and folks, make sure that's the avenue, that the entitlement is something that's ongoing. It's something that you reimburse the local government for a loss, and it's usually dated for the day that it passes, and you don't really have growth in it, but you do have that reimbursement coming in. That's just a little bit of history, but that seems to be the obvious way to go forward, and that should be something that we all talk about and push as we go forward, because it's been done many times over the last 35 years, and legislators have come around. When you shortchange local governments, then we have to go back, and whatever one body feels that they have given the taxpayers in a break, the taxpayers then have to go back and raise to get the services that they need for public safety and for fire. So people need to understand what the whole scenario is, and the legislators need to understand that too, because they're still going to church and school and the grocery store with the same people that we see every day. So entitlement would be the real answer for us to go forward on.
Councilor Ripsis, Councilor Boyette?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a
We'll try to draw
probably-
some sort of
hopefully a
conclusions
quick
here.
question, probably for Chris. All the conversation is on the mill cap, the 74 mill cap, but most of our mills are voted levies that are not the mill cap. How are those being considered?
Council Member Rupsis, the way we're talking about them, frankly, is with in no different way whatsoever, right? Our 74 mills, is the way I view it. The voters are the only ones who have been able to adjust up 74. So they've done 10 for transit and 5 for this and 32 for, so we just describe it as a hard cap. The voters are the only ones who can adjust the mill. And the conversation isn't about the 74 that was in the 76 charter. It's the mills that we have today. And frankly, there aren't many conversations about even the number of mills, right? Everyone else lives under this floating mill concept. We don't. So that's the primary conversation in Helena. I will tell you, and we were a bit surprised to learn there are lots of other cities who have over the years had their voters vote in a fixed number of mills for a specific purpose. And for them, this is having the same effect. It just isn't having as significant as effect because they can float mills. So I'm sorry, to answer your question, we don't talk about the 74 any different than the 203 that I think we're currently at.
So all those other cities that have voted mills.
Yep.
Are they going to fall under this, whatever kind of exemption we have, or when we
Councilor
say?
Rupsis, can I comment on that? Yeah. It depends. We don't know. It depends on what the legislature does. I mean, there's nothing in the legislature that has addressed that issue specifically, but other cities are concerned about that. And we're also concerned if those mills, although they happen to be in our charter, it's just kind of by happenstance that where they pop up, right? So if a different rule is developed for Bozeman and Belgrade, who have those fixed mills, would our mills fall under the rule that applies to them or to the charter rule because they're in the charter? Those are really good questions that are unknown. However, I should tell you that in the proposed Emma Carpenter amendment that she's asked to be drafted, the Montana League of Cities and Towns has developed language to address, call it the Bozeman-Belgrade situation. And the concept there is that those mills would be allowed to increase, even if they were fixed at X number. By legislative fiat, they could raise those numbers without any sort of voter approval up to the amount necessary to raise 2025 level revenue in future years. And they would stay at that level, raising $2025 until the taxable value that had been lowered comes back to the point that they were at 2025. And then at that point, the mills would go to their original number times the 2025 taxable value from that point forward. And the problem from my perspective financially for that is nobody knows how long that would take. And so it's in effect a freeze on those mills at 2025 revenue levels for an indefinite number of years. And every community would be different. If you're in a go-go town, big sky, and values are going through the roof, maybe it'll only be a year or two. If you're in a lower growth area, it might take, who knows, decades or a decade or something like that. So good questions, but unknown. So, council, I'm going to just make a observation. We, the council, or I'm assuming staff is going to want some direction here, right? And we want to be able to give directions to lobbyists in Helena and legislators. So, my suggestion is we communicate what we already clearly agreed on. First priority, any legislation that doesn't impact the value of a mill. Second, some sort of a backfill strategy using general fund dollars or some other source of state funds. And then on the big question of this third item, we have to make a decision to either tell those other people that the city's position is we have no position on this at this point. We're just going to let it play out, but we truly have no position. Don't assume that we want you to not override our charter, but we're not taking a position at this time. Or we take some other action, presumably from what I've heard, an affirmative opposition. We stand in opposition to anything that has the legislature changing any part of our charter. But I think we're going to have to make that decision. No position, or for the time being, because in my view, that leaves open the option of getting in later as a last resort. Doesn't close that off, or strict opposition, I guess. Come back here, Councilmember Charnice Owen.
Thank you. Chris, do you see any harm in us taking a no position stance? I think it's very clear what the mayor's laid out. I think we can all agree, number one. Number two, you've heard the discussion. Is it fair to say that you could represent this as the city has no position on this third option because we politically do not like the idea of the state overriding our charter. I think a lot of us feel that way, but we understand the situation that we're in as well.
My response, Councilmember Shaw, is this is a we thing. I nor Director Zeller or anyone else on our staff wants to be out there representing anything other than what the majority of this council directs. So I think if you leave it vague, you leave us in this position where we're up for criticism. Anybody, yourselves included, anybody who's testifying or lobbying or talking towards solutions is in an uncomfortable position. That may be where you decide that we just are going to have to stay or provide clear. But I'm not comfortable saying to you, oh, I think it's okay one way or the other, because it really couldn't be more of a policy call by the 11 of you.
Okay, Councilor Shaw.
I'm just trying to move us along. So I guess I would make a motion that outlines kind of what you described, Mayor, that this is our number one preference. This is our number two preference. If we get down to number three, here's the direction on it. And the direction that I would recommend that we talked about the legislative committee is it may not be our first choice, but it's trying to make some bad bills better for the city. And so I guess that would be my motion.
Okay, so it's an option. You're not just trying to describe exactly what the third item would look like, but you're not closing it out.
Yes.
So it's a last resort possibility.
It's a last resort possibility, and we have some amendment language that would be acceptable.
Okay, that was a motion. So I guess, is there a second to that motion? I guess I would second that motion. If you're done on that, we'll move to Councilmember Neese, Councilmember Owen. Councilmember Neese, Councilmember Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. I had some other questions. So on this, unless you want us to only talk to the motion, but I think that it's already out in the public a little bit, social media, and I think for us, by us not taking a position, our constituents think we're trying to undermine the charter. And Tom, I agree with a lot of people may not understand the whole concept of how we run city government, but I think they do understand the charter. And when it's spreading like this, that we're not taking a position, they think that the mayor and the city council is undermining, doing things that's going to impact their taxes and violate the charter. I think we have an oath to support the charter. yes, we have an oath to support the Constitution of state of Montana, but we are, right now, the Constitution of the Montana supports our charter. There's no conflict there. We have an oath to support the charter and not to do anything to circumvent the charter, not even to support the circumvent the charter. Now, we can have discussion about, do we want to make changes to present to the public to make changes to the charter? That we can have without violating our oath, because then we're going to take that to the public and vote on it. But here we're taking a vote on potentially allowing staff, unclear, because the third point is unclear to what Chris has said. He wants a clear position, and I would interpret that saying, yes, you want the amendment to say override the charter, or no, you want the amendment to say don't override the charter. Because if we don't vote on a clear message to the staff won't know what to do. So I won't support the amendment, but I think we have to look at what this is going to do, not just to the misunderstanding of the legislators, do we do not support it, but what the public is hearing and whether public has any confidence in us. We have a tough time with public confidence now. This is just going to make it worse. So, yeah. And by the way, I think Councilmember Kennedy was 100% correct, and I appreciate the history of that, because I knew entitlement share was there. I didn't realize the history and how it was really created, and it was for a time as this. And so I appreciate you bringing that up.
Very good. Just for the record, I just want anybody to think that our oath actually talks about the charter. Obviously, it's an important part of what we do, but the oath talks about the Constitution of the state and the U.S. Constitution. Doesn't mention anything about the charter. I'm sorry. I was just looking at. Okay, well, good. Let's check it out. I was just looking at the provision in the Constitution that's supposed to apply to all members. But if you've got it, you're probably more right than I am. So I'm not going to disagree with that. But interesting. Councilmember Owen, Councilmember Kennedy, Councilmember Gulick.
Mayor, I want to be clear on what my position is. I think the way, Mayor, that you have characterized and the way that the movement has characterized the first two options, I agree with. I think, first, don't undermine the value of a mill. Second, if you're going to do that, let's discuss some responsible backfill strategy that phases in the impact over time. Temporary strategy. I think we should take a position tonight that we oppose, in fact, vigorously oppose, any effort to eliminate the mill levy cap and to restrict the right of the voters in Billings to have self-governance. I viscerally detest substitute motions. So I can make one, or I would just ask that you vote this down. And if you do, then I will make a next motion to take a position in favor of opposing it, because I think we need to be very clear. I think it is important, however, and this would be the motion I would make if given the opportunity, that to Councilmember Shaw's question, if legislators are asking us for technical assistance, what's the financial impact? How do we need to, what does the charter say? How do we need to write this? Staff should be authorized to do technical feedback. Gina, Andy, all the people who do that should be allowed to do that. We need to be responsive to our partners at the state, but I think the position of the city of Billings needs to be, we oppose any effort to remove the mill levy cap and impair the rights of the citizens to self-governance. So I'm not going to make a substitute motion because I just hate them so much, but I will vote against this. I would ask others to vote against it, and then I will make a second motion.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Councilmember Kennedy, Gulick.
Well, I'm glad you hate substitute motions, but I'm going to do a substitute motion. I'm going to make a substitute motion with number 1 and number 2, and we'll drop off the third one so we can end discussion and move forward on it. The real piece, what you're talking about, is on the charter and all of that. If the legislature passes legislation that says, gives the council the opportunity to override or whatever, then it comes back to the council. And you have to make a decision at that time. But I think 1 and 2, that gives the staff direction, and let's move on and go home.
Very good. Is there a second to the substitute motion? Councilmember Boyette. Okay. Yeah. Don't call the question, guys. Just don't. This is too important. Okay, I recognize Councilmember Gulick and the Councilmember Boyette.
second though, so I guess Mike can speak to that.
Oh, yeah, you want to,
So
yeah,
one of the-
please speak to your motion.
One of the unfortunate things I ended up doing was ended up on a committee. We dealt with a franchise fee for over 4 years. We ended up in a lawsuit for over 4 years. I think that would be pale in comparison to us getting rid of the overriding our charter. I think the public would come at us much worse than a franchise fee. I don't want to go there, whether I like it or not. I think it's, why don't we just say, kill it, rebates, entitlements, work out something like that, and don't even bring up changing the charter. And if the state does it, then we're stuck with it then. But don't give them any idea. Just because I don't want to get into more lawsuits, and I know that would happen right away.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor Gillett.
Obviously, a really difficult situation we're in, so not really any easy answers. I think we're all agree on what needs to happen in terms of what we want to have happen. In my mind, it's a matter of strategy, and I guess I'm in agreement that we shouldn't give them the option of doing something against our charter. It is really high stakes, though. I mean, let's be really clear about that. Taking that path. I mean, we can blame the legislature if they impose that on us, but then we have some really difficult situation we have to deal with. And I don't, so that's why we're in it's a really tough situation here. I don't like the idea though of giving them the option of doing it because it gives them an out. And so I think in terms of strategy, I think I'm inclined to support this motion.
Very good. Any other discussion? Appreciate that comment. We'll give a high stake poker here. So, Councilor Bernice, before we vote.
Yeah, Mayor, since Councilmember Boyette brought up the issue of lawsuits, I think something you shared during the legislative meeting regarding the Constitution of what it allows and what the legislator can't or can't do with city charters was important. And I think that's going to be the question that happens before the court is, does that area of the Constitution affect the charter? Does the legislator have jurisdiction to make that change? In my opinion, after you cited that, I went through the Constitution and read it, and I have a different opinion of you on that. And so in my opinion, I believe our charter cap is an administrative and a legislative authority that the public has put in the charter for us to govern. And so I think that if they did try to override it, it may be different for other levies that have been assessed, but within the charter, because it's in our charter, we have those limitations. I think that's administrative and legislative, and I think it will be a problem for it to be defended in court. And so again, I'll support this substitute motion, and I think we do need to make the motion. And thank you, Councilman Gould, because I believe also this is a high risk move, but I think it's necessary because we as council members need to defend our charter. Thank you.
Okay, very good. If we're ready to vote, so let's have a vote. Motion is on the substitute motion for the city's position to clearly be in favor of number one, number two, and take a position that it opposes any change by the legislature that would have the effect of overriding in whole or in part our charter. Correctly stated? Have I correctly stated the motion?
I thought, yeah, 3 was left out.
No, that we would oppose that.
No, he left it off because
Yeah.
Just 1 and 2. So you're saying there's no position on number 3?
Yeah, that could always come
under Councilor Kennedy's. No position at all on number 3. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm glad I had.
That doesn't mean that the city is not. It's not. It doesn't mean that number 3 is. He's not establishing a no position. He's just not addressing that issue.
Right. It's just out there.
Right.
No position.
That can come on a separate motion.
Come in a separate motion?
That we oppose.
That we oppose it. Oh, okay, okay. So it just eliminates number 3. So we're just establishing the order of number 1 and number 2.
Establishing
Okay.
the order of number 1 and 2. That's what I
Yes.
hear
And
from
our
this motion.
support for number 1 and number 2.
Yes.
And thank you for clarifying that. I guess I withdraw my support. And the reason is that the staff are going to be asked what their position is and something. If they just go mum, that's not going to work. We need to be able to say that we are opposed to
What I'm
anything that
hearing is this might not be the end of our evening.
Yes.
Okay, so we're starting with a foundation stone, but it's not necessarily the end of the building.
Correct.
Okay.
I will be making another motion, Mayor.
Okay, very good. So, Councilmember Tidswell, I apologize, we didn't give you an opportunity to say anything if you wanted. I haven't been looking at my screen. You're good? Okay. All right, very good. So if the motion is clear, we're just standing in support of 1 and 2 in that order. If in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. If opposed, nay. Okay, so we have unanimous agreement on that point. Now, deal with item, or that third element. Councilmember Owen?
Mayor, I would make a motion to establish the position of the city of Billings that we oppose any effort to remove the mill levy cap in our charter and to undermine the rights of citizens in our community for self-governance.
Second.
I'm sorry, who had the second? We had a couple seconds. Councilmember Rogers? Okay, and have we had enough discussion? You want to discuss that further?
Mayor, the only thing I would ask to put on the record is that I want this to be clear that it is a policy decision. Staff should be authorized to respond to requests. Let's not go out searching for work. But if there are requests from our legislators on how we do something or what the financial impact is, let's be good partners and model that for them. But our policy position should be, do not remove the mill levy cap.
Okay, very good. I'm just going to ask staff, since you're the one who ends up having to deal with this, is this motion now sufficiently clear for you, or do you need further clarification?
I think it's sufficiently clear. I don't know how to make it more clear, so.
Okay, very good. And then any other discussion now on this motion? Okay, we'll proceed to a vote. Let's have a hand vote on this one. So if it's, I won't restate it. But if in favor of the motion just made by Councilmember Owen, raise your hand. Voting in favor are Councilmembers Shaw Gulick, Nisa Owen, everybody. If voting in opposition, there you go. 1. The mayor, only because he'd like to be able to say that we're taking no position on that. We'll just see what comes out of legislature. But I understand the discussion. I think it was excellent and very valuable, and I think it'll help staff to know what their marching orders are. So thanks everybody for your discussion on that. I think that, is there anything else on this item 8 that involving legislation that we need to talk about tonight?
So just as a reminder, each agenda, work sessions and regular meetings through the middle of May, because the session will end by statute, I think, May 9th or sooner, we'll have this on agendas just to have a placeholder, have conversations if they're needed and direction if needed. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Is there any public comment on items that were not on our agenda tonight? Any public comment on non-agenda items? Have you been here all night? Wow.
My address, 2901 Monad Road. So do you want to know my apartment number? You want to come see me? Not much room. So I am the executive director of Billings Mediation Center, a community mediation center. And while we do a lot of court directed, we also are trying to help engage the community. I'm currently here to ask, not for money, but actually more for any of your concerns about what I'm going to do as a capstone project for my graduate work, getting a certificate in contemporary dispute resolution. So I have learned that I don't have to ask for your permission, but I want you to know that I'm asking the community for their input, and you can see the digital invite. I'm more than happy to leave this here for you to look at. That ask them for any of their input on the recent snowplow season. You know, what can we learn? Maybe what can we do better? But it's a listening session. We're not telling them anything. I'd be facilitating the conversation. There's 2 of them going to be online, virtual by Zoom. I will have a poll to do feedback that will be a bit helpful for us and then also for you if you're interested. Any of you are welcome to attend, and any maybe supervisors of the plowing crew, if that would be helpful. So you just get to listen to the citizen or the community's thoughts and experience. We call these listening sessions. We're eager to do these in the future. I even thought about, what you guys were talking about as far as the community input on things, that it doesn't get to happen here. So if you are interested in more about that, but I wanted to ask for you if any concerns about what I'm doing, because you might have constituents going, what is up with that?
Very good. Thank you very much. Temple, do you want to tell anybody who might be watching how they would access? You've got any sort of email or this a website or some social media contact?
I was going to ask the chamber for a little bit of assistance to do a digital ad. I was also going to ask if it is okay that a post could be on the City of Billings Facebook page. I was also going to approach the neighborhood task forces to see if it would be okay to put it on their websites. So I can put it on Nextdoor, anything. It's just a welcome, anybody that wants to have input and thoughts.
Very good. So members of the public, keep your eyes open.
All right,
Mayor?
thank you very much.
Mayor?
Looks like we got a question from Councilor Neese, Councilor Kennedy.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. That's one of the top emails we get during the winter time is snow plowing. And so you're welcome to look at the city's email, they're public, and search for snow plow or snow, and you'll probably find a lot of comments right there. And so, yeah, and I think contacting the task force to provide that information, that would be a great help. I think it would give people the ability to hear. And I look forward to hearing what they say, so include us.
Appreciate that. So that is the only request, and I don't expect an answer, is that I will be putting this as a request on the agenda for you to review, so that the people who are present, I can ask them. I'm going to ask the city council to look at this and have your thoughts in front of them. So their
Thank
thoughts
you.
in front of you.
Very good. Please do reach out to staff. They can provide a lot of information on how the process works.
Thank you.
And how problems are addressed or not addressed. Councilor Kenny?
The Southside Task Force would invite you to come in and do a session with them.
Okay.
And then we'll get it on our website.
Perfect. I will reach out to them directly.
Thank
All right. Thank you for your support. Thank you for everything you do.
Very good. Thank you.
Good evening.
Any other public comment? You guys are very patient.
It's a great meeting. Hi, Peter O'Brien, 313 North Broadway. I'm here representing the skate park committee, and we wanted to do a quick informal update just on our goals for this upcoming summer. In the next session, we'll be gifting our lighting package that we got as a part of a grant to the city and to Parks and Rec. And I know one of the big questions that's going to come up from that is who's going to pay for the lights to be operated. Quick backstory there, we had a SEPTED report done on the skate park itself, and for the last 4 years, I believe, it was the #2 location for 911 calls. So our efforts for safety down there, if they see a dramatic decrease in that number of calls, we would urge you to consider that as a part of, money that the city would be saving by operating these lights. The second piece that we're trying to do this summer, and we're very close to having full funding on it, is our phase 1, which is a continued infrastructure down there at the park. So just be on the lookout for that coming up.
Okay, very good. Questions for Peter or Jenna? Councilor Kenny?
Just a quick question. Why couldn't we put a fence around the park and be able to lock it off till 7 in the morning and 10 o'clock at night?
Yeah, so we do have that in our plan. We've talked to our build company about that. Putting the fence up at the start would not work for them, and the fence would get destroyed. So we're hoping that our lights and cameras will act as a deterrent, currently while we continue to fundraise to build out the rest of the park. It's an update to the pre-approved master plan. If those efforts are not doing it, then the fence is kind of our last piece, ditch effort there to make a change.
And the reason I ask that is because 6 o'clock in the morning, you have quite a few folks on the lawn and everything there. And then if you go down there at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, the number of people that are gathering in those parking lots and into the skate park is not a good scene.
We 100% agree with that, and that's been the big driver of a lot of our efforts is that safety down there and the fact that that space is being used for lack of a better term, nefarious activity.
Yes.
It's a big push again with the lights and cameras that people don't want to be under the lights. They don't want to be on camera. So we're hoping to see a big change there. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you. Jenna, did you have anything for us?
I'm Amanda Kelly.
Oh,
I'm also on the Billings Skate Park Committee.
Ah.
So I just wanted to update you on that grant that you guys approved for Billings Parks and Rec that we got from NRPA. And so we are able this summer to offer 2 free clinics, skate clinics down at the skate park. We are able to offer 2 free camps. With that grant, we will also be purchasing skateboards and helmets that will be the property of Billings Parks and Rec, so we can continue doing this going forward as well. We also have 3 competitions planned for down there and 1 big demo day where we're bringing in pro skaters. We're going to have a band. We're going to have some of our partners in the community that are currently donating to the skate park down there with tents and stuff, and it'll be hopefully food trucks and just a big party to celebrate everything we're doing at the skate park. So just another update on thank you for approving that grant.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Councilor Gillick, something?
I just had to brag you. So you have a T-shirt that says "Skater Mom's Nest" T-shirt. I could have a T-shirt that says "Skater Husband." My wife was once a skate rat herself. Yes. Yeah.
The orthopedists in town are salivating. This is full employment.
One of those.
Okay. Council, no initiatives, right? So we're adjourned. Good night, everybody.